Ring ring, it's time for another episode of Crossplay Conversations, the show where we dive deep into the world of video games while keeping it light. I'm your host, Luke Lewis, and today I'm once again joined by the Wii U Wonder Kid, Jacob McCourt.
Did I tell you guys I set up my entire Wii U collection in frame? I don't think I've done that
I see
before.
it.
Your whole
little
shelf
Easter egg.
over there looks quite nice.
Yeah,
I've been watching it kind of grow over time.
I found the matching shelf on Facebook Marketplace, so I was like, ooh, I'll buy this shelf for $20 that matches my other one. Let's go.
Nice.
A little Easter egg for the YouTube viewers.
Hell yeah. And also joining us per usual, it's the sneaker savant, Joseph Hooper.
So I'm wearing my Flora shirt for good luck, everybody.
God, that shirt's fantastic. Fantastic shirt. And rounding out our quartet, it's the queen of the cozy game, Claire Helmberger from LukeWarmGames.
Hey, everybody. Super happy to be here. Love
And
being on
you're
your show.
here for a special occasion.
Yes.
It's always a special occasion when you're around, but that said, it's our finale for our Game of the Year 2024 content. We have more categories to run through and the grand reveal of our top 10 games of the year, along with our Game of the Year. Nobody else on the podcast knows what won our Game of the Year except for me. I'm very excited. I'm going to keep teasing because it's very fun and very hype. Our categories for today, everybody, we're running through Best Indie, Best Music, Best Visuals Technical, Best Visuals Art Direction, Best Narrative, Best Moment, and of course our top 10 list. Listeners, if you're jumping in for the first time, first of all, thank you. Welcome. Glad to have you. I recommend you jump into part 1 of this episode, which you can find in the episode description, where we break down 6 other categories celebrating the year 2024. But enough shop talk. Let's get into it. Best Indie. Our nominees are Arco, Animal Well, Balatro, UFO 50, 1,000 Times Resist, Thank Goodness You're Here, Another Crab's Treasure, Mini Shoot Adventures, Neva, We're Still Going, Crypt Custodian, Little Kitty Big City, Mouthwashing, Rise of the Golden Idol, Grun, Caravan Sandwich, Crow Country, Nine Souls, and Surmount. Whoo!
Wow.
That is a
Do we want to
list.
share
That is a
screen
great
also?
list. Yes. Thank you for the reminder for our video viewers. If you want to follow along at home with our super document here, you can see what's up.
Quite the document.
It is quite the document. We're going to color code. We're going to debate. Maybe I can highlight what game we're talking about at a given moment. So if you're like, oh, this sounds cool, you can know what the heck is going on. Who wants to kick us off? We've all played a bunch of these. I can give some quick shout outs, but Hooper, go ahead.
I was going to say, are there any games that we didn't talk about last episode? Because I
think there's a huge one we haven't talked about yet.
Yeah.
I think UFO 50 and Another Crab's Treasure we haven't
Also,
touched on
1,000
within
Extra
this
Resist, I don't think
podcast.
we've talked about.
And I haven't talked about
we didn't go
Surmount.
deep into it.
Yeah.
And
either.
Nine Souls. I don't remember if I talked about Nine Souls, but
I think we
say.
touched
I think a
on
little
it
bit, yeah.
because we were talking, because that ended up winning an honorable mention in underrated game, I believe. Most underrated.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I'll tell you right now, I've played about several more hours since the last episode. I'm ready to come back with some more Nine Souls talk. All right.
Okay, great.
Let's go.
Where are we at with Nine Souls? Give us a little status.
Oh sure.
update.
Let's start at the bottom here. Nine Souls. Let me tell you, this game is actually kind of freaking goated. It is essentially Sekiro mixed with Hollow Knight. And the beautiful thing about Nine Souls is you start off and you're like, all right, this is kind of cool, like futuristic, Chinese folklore type little vibe. All right, I guess it's fine. And then slowly, as you start getting past the halfway point of the game, man, they start introducing all these interesting little like twists to the gameplay, to the story, where you're like, wait, what's going on here? Like, there's different like paths you can choose in terms of like, oh, I found this secret item. Now this will nerf the boss because, like I found this thing that I guess affects the story or feeds into the lore. And if I use this, like it'll change how the boss fight goes. It'll make it easier for me. There's a lot of cool little moments in the back half of this game that I'm really loving. All the boss fights are super unique. And the story as well, man. The story at first, I was like, I don't really care about this. I'm just here to have a little boss rush gauntlet. It's really getting to me. It's about this guy who's who his like little committee betrayed him. They were like the bureaucracy of this world. And there was a pandemic going on, and they all did these things to try and contain the pandemic or escape the pandemic. He eventually gets betrayed, and he's basically looking for revenge. And then it starts becoming like, all right, like, who's really the villain here? Am I a villain? Like, what does it mean to be bad? What does it mean to be good? Man, it's really hurting my little heartstrings, and I can't wait to see how it ends. I think I'm one
Is he a
final
little
boss
cat
away
man
from the end.
though?
He is a little cat man, also known as a Solarian. I don't know. He might have another species name. I don't know. There's a lot of species in this. The humans are like the dumb apes of this world. All the animals are smart, and we're basically like little pets, essentially. So I love Nine Souls. I did not think I would be loving it this much by the time I got to the end, but it's up there for best indie. But
That's awesome.
I'll stand
Oh, yeah.
down. I'll stand down because I don't think we're getting. I have other games that I'm willing to put above it.
It
It's
sounds
wild
like
to me.
we
that
don't
this
need
is
to
the
cut it
devotion
yet,
detention
Yeah.
people.
The
Oh,
who?
really?
This is Red Candle Games, who did Devotion and Detention, one of which was banned because Winnie the Pooh.
Oh,
Interesting.
I
I
didn't
did not know that.
either. Yeah.
Yeah, they
Um,
made comments about the Chinese prime minister, and therefore the game was nuked from purchasing platforms.
Dang. I mean,
Gotcha.
there's a lot of commentary in this too. I wonder if this will get banned. We'll see.
Yeah, I share the Nine Souls love. I've played a lot less than you, Joseph, but when I played this for Indie Game Award nominees and checked it out, my immediate thought was I thought you would love it, so I'm glad to hear it resonated. But what a stylish looking game. What great combat within a 2D game.
Very tough. Very
Um,
tough.
Yeah, so definitely. I don't think we need to cut anything yet, but
No.
it's definitely belongs on this list for sure. I'll give another like quick shout out one. We haven't talked about Surmount at all, but this was one earlier in the year that I really enjoyed. It is a mountain climbing game with just the goofiest, coolest physics engine. Ton of fun. It's like think the climbing mechanics of a Jusant, but way lower stakes, way more arcadey, way more zany. It's made by two folks. You get to customize your little mountaineering character, and the just immaculate vibes. Really fun, really delightful, and you can also play it in co-op, which is pretty cool. I just had a really nice time with it. I don't necessarily know if it hangs with some of these other ones that I'm like more passionate about, but a good game that definitely warrants checking out. And if folks are looking for good co-op title, just a nice, relaxing, zany, fun time, it's a good one.
I love zaniness.
It's a fun one. It's a fun one.
Mm.
Claire, how about I kick it to you for some of these? You played quite a bit of Neva recently. Do you want to chat about that one?
Sure. So did we talk about Neva last episode?
I don't think it's come up yet.
No, it has not.
Mm-mm.
All right. So Neva is a 2D kind of well, not quite side scroller, but it is, you are platforming. There's also combat, puzzle solver, where you are playing as this person in this strange, like, post-apocalyptic sort of world, but it's also very nature forward. And you have this creature companion that is like a wolf with antlers, like a Wolpertinger type of creature, who is progressively like growing as the game goes, and you are trying to defeat these really creepy, they look kind of like No Face from Spirited Away creatures that are destroying the world and destroying the environment. There's a mysterious figure who comes into play later on as you go. It's not like super complex. With the puzzles are all pretty straightforward. There are some like extra things you can find in the levels that take a little bit more like know-how to be able to get to. I found the combat tricky. I know
Okay.
you did not, Luke, and I think I was just not doing it right at first, because I started to figure it out more later as I got into the game more.
It had its moments
Yeah,
for
there were
me,
a couple
but it
moments where I
wasn't
was like,
like,
this is
oh my, like,
unusually
I was in
little.
the other room and you were like audibly frustrated while you were playing, and I was like, did you change games? Like, what are you playing out there?
But it's really cool visually. I think that's the thing that makes Niva stand out the most, is this like really beautiful hand painted backgrounds, and like character design is all really aesthetically pleasing, and there are some really cool shots at different levels where it like zooms out or it zooms
That's what,
in,
yeah, I was gonna shout out like
and
the
like movements
perspective
in
of
the
it too.
background and the like enemy creatures and how they kind of like evolve. It's really visually interesting, I think, is my favorite part about this game. And the music.
I still really want to play that one, Claire, because I played Gris in 2024 and did not like it, only because it's like incredibly gameplay light. Beautiful thing. But that's why I was so excited by Neva, because it is as beautiful or more beautiful than Gris, but even with the combat has more to it, is more gamey instead of being just like an interactive art installation.
Yeah, I definitely will say that I thought the first like 45 minutes I played where I was like, I'm just walking around. This isn't, so I think you have to kind of keep going a little bit until, because I was like, I'm just walking around. This is super easy. Like, this is more gameplay light than Planet of Lana, which I thought it was really similar to. And then I got to like the first real boss and I was like, what the fuck? I was like, what the heck? Why is this so hard all of a sudden? And then after that, the combat was more of part of the game. And I got used to it. So.
There's also like platforming sequences where it's like, oh, you're like timing this to the cinematic thing. Like, this is,
yeah,
challenging is the wrong word, but it's like
it's not
engaging. You're involved. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's not like happening to you. You are active participant.
Yeah.
Which,
I definitely don't think the platforming is challenging.
yeah,
but
it's
cool,
fun.
and
Yeah,
they
I think it
introduce
plays
new
well.
mechanics as you go along through the game. That and you get new abilities in each sort of like level or area of the game. You learn more things that you can do to get around the world. So,
yeah, I believe
that's
this is friend of the show Jill Grote, the Indie Informer's Game of the Year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so high praise there from a qualified indie critic.
Shout out to Jill for being a Metacritic and OpenCritic this year.
Hell yeah.
I played a little bit of this game. I enjoyed it. I think it just wasn't I wasn't in the mood for that pace of game. It was a little bit slow, especially
That's
like
fair.
when I wanted to like go to the next screen or something. It's kind of one of those games that's like, oh, we'll let your little NPC dog play out and have a little fun on this screen before you can go to the next screen type thing. So I'm very interested though to see where the story goes, like how the abilities and stuff evolve over the rest of the game. But even within that first couple hours that I played, very beautiful game for sure.
Agreed. Should we talk about 1,000 Times Resist, which we haven't touched on? I just
think it's
beat
time.
this last night, so I'm fresh. I'm ready. I have thoughts.
Please let them loose.
So this is one of those games that I think I will have more to say and more thoughts on it over time. Like, I think as I sit with it, as I talk to more people about it, as I listen to podcasts unpacking it, I think it's an incredibly layered game in terms of thematic structure and just like complexity, symbolism. There's just a lot to unpack with it, but I think it's one of the most interesting games of the year for sure. Arguably one of the most interesting narrative games I've ever played. There are parts of it that, like, I finished the game and I was like, wow, it's a weird ending and game to say I love this, because it represents so much, like, without spoiling anything, just like trauma and cultural significance, that it's hard to be like, I loved that experience, but like, what a meaningful experience, what a well written experience. The art direction is insane. I think what that team does with a budget and the constraints that they were working with is kind of crazy in terms of reusing assets and different things. I think they do that incredibly well in a way that I've never seen a game reutilize things to the extent that they do, but then make it narratively compelling, if that makes sense.
No, I mean, it's a small
I'm
team.
dancing around spoilers for this one just because I know listeners, maybe not everybody has played it. I think when we get into best narrative and best moment, we'll have to put our spoiler hats on. But I very much think it's a very important game. It made my top 10 list. Yeah, definitely something I'll be thinking about for a long time.
I think the thing that I appreciated about it so much, and it's what I appreciate about mouthwashing as well, there is such a firm hand. Think about games and how much progress they've made technically, but I think sometimes we forget that as a medium, we're still incredibly immature. But then you get games like mouthwashing and 1000x resist, 1000 times resist, that just show, oh, small teams with the tech now can make these incredibly well directed experiences. The thing I remember the most about 1000 times resist, this game, is just some of the ways that they will tell the story and the way that they will like fix a camera in a specific way to have you like walk through an environment in a way that makes sense with the themes that are present. It's like, I think it ended up on my list of favorite games. It's a little, again, gameplay light. I guess that's the word of the day for me. But I think that it makes up for it in the execution in which it story tells its themes.
Yeah, I think it's a step above a visual novel in terms of like gameplay engagement, but I do think it's arguably the best type of game that I've ever played. I think it's doing the most interesting things within that like fixed story perspective.
Hoop,
Which
where
I guess
did
it's
you
yeah.
played?
Sorry, go ahead.
I did play it.
Yeah.
From what I've played, I am not fully bought in on the experience yet. I mean, time will tell if I actually decide to go back and finish this. I think there just was not enough game or like scene setting or like story setting for me personally. Like when we talk about mouthwashing, what I really loved about mouthwashing was like all these characters and these personalities just felt like you were watching a horror movie or something. And it's like, oh, these characters are goofy, and through their goofiness and their actions, you start to build this really dark picture of what's actually going on. But it never really feels like the game is explicitly saying, hey, this is what we're talking about until the end. And then it's like, who knows what we're talking about mouthwashing. But for this one, it definitely felt like there was not as much of a curtain there, like a stage play of like, hey, this is a game, but under the surface, this is really what we're talking about. It kind of just felt to me that it was like, this is what we're talking about. And we're going to, kind of dive into that, which is totally okay. But I think my expectations were a little like miscalibrated, because this is one of the games, and this is a tale as old as time, happens every year, where some people play it before you and they're like, this might be the best game of all time. And I start playing it and I'm like, have I gotten there yet? Have I gotten there? Are we there to the best? Like, so like, I think if I would have come in with like fresh eyes and
No
like had never heard
expectation,
anything,
yeah.
like I probably would have been able to build up and like form my own opinion. But I don't know if it's for me to like finish this and be like, whoa, yeah, we did it. This is my favorite game of the year, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think to that point, I felt less hot on it after finishing it than I did at like the halfway point.
Okay.
I might be kind of in the minority on that one. I think it ended well. I think to your earlier point about mouthwashing, Joseph, I felt more strongly about mouthwashing overall than I did 1000 times resist. And I think they're both incredible in their own right. And I think they're both doing super interesting things. But when I look back on the overall experience, moment to moment, story beat to story beat, I was more compelled by mouthwashing. And maybe that's more of a narrative debate conversation, but since we're also debating them in this category, I think it's worth mentioning.
Honestly, yeah, let's, we'll come back to this in best narrative, I'm sure. And I have more thoughts about,
I think these two are really going to
square
off in that category to some extent, because
yeah,
they're definitely some of the strongest picks. Jacob, do you want to do some shouts from this one?
Yeah,
your
I don't think we've
titles.
talked about Caravan Sandwich
Yeah.
yet. That is a cool little open world driving narrative game with some platforming as well. I played through it. The world they build is cool. The dialogue and the writing is surprisingly good. And it's just like a vibey game that I enjoyed. I think it ended up getting bumped off of my top games of the list. Did it end up getting bumped off? I'm actually just checking really fast. Yeah, it got bumped off, but it was definitely like in my top dozen games of the year. I really enjoyed it. It was vibey and cozy and cool. I don't know, Claire, is this one you played? Because I'd be like, Claire might like this one.
I wanted to,
I think
and
you
I think I
would,
would like
too,
it.
yeah.
I can't remember if I played the demo or if I just saw
I
the
think-
trailers and that I should play that demo and then didn't.
I played the demo,
you played the demo.
and the full game on this one, and I think I recommended it as a possible U game.
So now it's in the backlog.
There's crafting.
Yes,
You
I've
collect
heard
stuff.
about the crafting.
I also just like driving the van around and listening to tunes. Like that was really a fun
It's
vibe.
like Wind Waker, but no boat and no combat.
It also, in terms of like style, it's kind of like the Miyazaki movie Nausicaa Valley of the Wind meets like a dash of cyberpunky tech, if that makes sense. Like it's a cool world that they set up. It's one that you want to run around in and just kind of explore and see what's up.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And then I think that maybe we talked about Grun.
No one's talking about another Crab's Treasure.
Maybe another Crab's
Oh,
Treasure
wait.
is the last one.
I was waiting. I was holding.
And I
my
don't know if
tongue
I've
for
done
this one.
Crypt Custodian yet. Oh, and we got to talk about UFO 50. But
Yes.
let's talk about Crab Game Hooper.
Let me-
'cause I played this one too.
Let me break it down for you all. Another Crab's
Break
Treasure
it down.
might very well be the best indie of the year. If it wasn't
Whoa.
for a little bit of jank in there. There was a little bit of jank in there, a little too much jank for my liking. But when you think about the game as a whole, first of all, funny as hell. Games being funny, very tough. You know, granted, we have Thank Goodness You're Here this year as well, which, you know, it's rare to have two really funny games in one year. But this game, the puns they use, the characters are all like hilarious. Like even the little situations where like you fight this boss and then you go back and they're like, hey, what happened to this guy? And you're like, hey, I don't know. I think he left like after you killed him. It's just like hilarious stuff like that. The Souls-like mechanics, to take that mechanic and like add their own little twist on it, where you also have these little shells that have their own abilities. Like that's just an insane like extension of the Souls-like mechanic and like that like combat sphere that I really, really love. And the game is just huge. Like there's so many different areas with their own vibes and their own little stories. Like in terms of like when we're talking about indie games and like what has been achieved here, like I'm kind of regretting not bringing it up last episode for like most underrated game, because I really do think this game should be up for a lot more awards and nominations than it got at the end of the year. Like I said, the only thing that I can think I would say is holding it back is there was when I played it a lot of like technical issues with like the game chugging or like things loading weird or bugs or anything like that, which I would say a lot of indies at this level sometimes have figured out by now. But I love this game. I absolutely love this game.
Yeah, I loved my time with it as well, and I would also shout out, I just really appreciate Aggro Crab taking an established genre that is historically not kid-friendly, not family-friendly, not approachable, and I think making something that both aesthetically and in terms of gameplay is more accessible to folks. I think that's really cool. I love the SpongeBob SquarePants vibes, and I agree with you too that I think the humor also hits on top of the gameplay being quite solid. Also, I think the shield specific thing of like the back bling, like that whole mechanic, I think is really
cool.
clever. Yeah.
Isn't microplastics one of your collectibles also?
Yeah, like
that's
the
the
currency.
attention to little details
That's
like that,
funny
I
as
think
hell.
are really fun, but they also matter from a gameplay perspective too. So I think that's very intentionally done and very well executed, I'd say too.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's definitely in the conversation. I'll chat about Crypt Custodian, and then we can chat about UFO 50, and then I think we've at least touched on everything in previous categories. Crypt Custodian is an awesome isometric Metroidvania style game. It's made by one guy, prominently Kyle Thompson. It's really, really dope. You play as a cat who has gone to the afterlife, and you're cleaning up the underworld with your broom, and you're smashing statues and fighting enemies and moving through. The writing is really funny. The gameplay loop is great. I think it has a really nice challenge that on a surface level you don't necessarily expect, but some really solid isometric platforming, which is not something we see a lot these days, I feel like, from that visual perspective. I had an absolute blast with this one, and the fact that it's a solo dev, crazy high quality, sets the bar. Truly, I think represents like what an indie game is in every sense. But yeah, I'm pretty passionate
Death's
about.
Door is it?
It's pretty Death's Door, but it's a little more. There's a little more Souls-like adjacentness to it, I would say. Little less about puzzle solving and a little more about combat.
Okay.
In terms of like the ratio, but all of them working harmoniously.
Did you play all the way through it as well?
No, I don't believe so. I think I got like to the 2/3-ish halfway point. I played, I think, like 6 or 7 hours, I want to say. So not an insignificant amount, but runs great on Steam Deck. Also, it's a good portable experience. One I would like to go back to, but time is a ever fleeting thing, unfortunately.
It is.
Yeah, this one came out like end of August, and I feel like, unfortunately, kind of like Arco,
it was just a tricky time. It got kind of buried.
Yeah.
But it got the shout in the Game of the Year category at the Indie Game Awards, which I was stoked to see. But if you like this genre, I think it's an awesome one in the Metroidvania action isometric space. So
let's go.
Yeah. UFO 50 is another one. It's 50 games. Let's start there. That's insane.
How many of them are good?
Here's where I'm like, I want this to hang because I just think it's like, it's one of the coolest things. You know, it's like, wow, what a wild thing that this group of developers came and made 50 games, and the attention to detail and the homage to the classics and the modernizing of previous genres. It's all real dope, but I know, Jacob, you've played a fair chunk of this as well. I think for every 10 games I play, I really like half of them.
Okay.
Maybe
I played about
in that
12,
realm. Yeah.
And I really liked 3 of them. And I know that that's part of the charm is you make 50 Nintendo games, from that era. Some of them were not great, but some of them have like a core mechanic that's cool. It's just like they don't hang. But I know that there's a full ass RPG in here. I would have taken House Party as an iOS game that I could play outside of this. So
there's the Ship Crash one that's like a Pikmin RPG that I like. I love, and I think to that point, like, think about the NES. There's dozens of hundreds of games on there, and we're not going to like every single one. So this is kind of a piecemeal thing, but it is kind of, it's hard to look at it when it's like, yeah, but there were ones I didn't like, but those ones might be ones other folks like.
Yeah.
Hard to say.
So I appreciate it. I don't know if we'll ever get something like this again.
That's almost why I want it to get the nod, just because it's like, it feels like the Psych Odyssey of indie game development in a wild way of like, this is such a crazy thing, and I think it's incredibly well executed for what the vision of it was.
I hope Mossmouth makes their money and more on this, because sometimes I go, will they make their money? I really hope they do.
Them charging $25 for the game feels insane. It feels super insane. Okay. There are a lot of other games on here that we've talked about previously that I know, Animal Well, Arco, Balatro. Those were all really big.
So
how about, can I say the thing really fast?
Sure.
I think I know what our number 1 pick is.
I was going to say, can we go around and say our number 1, or say it at the same time even?
Yeah.
Just to like, all right, 3, 2, 1.
Animal Well.
Fuck. Okay. Fuck. Okay. Well, this is good. We're narrowing it down. So, Animal Well and Balatro are definitely top 2.
Mhm.
Wait,
One of them's
did everybody
top 1.
say Balatro except me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Oh,
buddy.
okay.
Yeah, buddy,
All right.
sorry.
All right. Here we go. Here we go.
Here we go.
That game took over my life. This
Joseph,
year.
where are the knives? That jacket pocket you got? Are you ready? Cut. Okay, so those are our top 2 that we're discussing, and then we have
Mhm.
room to throw in one more.
Thank goodness you're here.
I'm personally, my next one that aside from those would either be Arco or Mini Shoot. Those were the ones that
Mm.
I love the most. I think I'm kind of alone on Mini Shoot Island, but it's really good. It's really well done. It's fun. The gameplay loop is great. I don't know if it necessarily hangs with some of these. UFO 50 is also one that we talked about recognizing for reasons of significance. Should we narrow our number 1 between Balatro and Animal Well and then debate from there? Does that make sense?
I'm going to go check because I feel like last year we had a similar thing where we were like, man, there's too many indie games. And did we give out more awards?
This
No, we
list
didn't.
is massive, so I'd be
Mhm.
okay with doing like 4 instead of 3. Like we could do 3 runners up or
Yep.
/ honorable mentions if we want, just so we can all sleep tonight
Why don't we
and
do
not
that?
feel bad. It might make it a little easier.
So, Luke, you showed your hand, I think, on this list. Obviously, Balatro was my number 1 pick.
Sure.
I'd probably go Mouthwashing being the next one.
Mouthwashing too, damn.
Yeah.
That's
And then
tricky.
if I had to pick a second, I'd probably go Arco. Not to complicate things.
No, that's okay. How about to start this, or not start it, but kind of finalize. Let's decide the number 1 between Animal Well and Balatro, and then we'll pick our runners up.
All
I
right,
don't have a
I'll-
problem with either of them. I fucking love Animal Well. It's on my top 10 list. It's quite high on my list. So is Balatro.
Look here. I'll say my piece and then I'll step
Okay.
out of the way. All right. Because
Here we go.
No,
I think
stay in the
clearly
way.
I think I clearly got outnumbered here. I thought I would have more Animal Well like insurgents sleeper cells based
I
off
think
our
it's
last
a
discussion.
slam dunk for
I
number 2.
Really
I'm
love
not.
it,
Yeah,
but
I'm not.
Balatro took
So-
over my life.
Yeah.
So let me tell you all, Animal Well, I think, in terms of a designed game, incredible, made by one person. The map loops in on itself. Every little corridor you go down goes to some other location. Like you just can't. It just doesn't end. The game doesn't end. It keeps circling around. Every little puzzle is hidden to perfection. You can find every single little egg in that game without ever using like a map or a guide or anything like that. There are so many creative little items. All the boss fights are not real boss fights. You're just doing random wacky stuff for each boss fight. And then when you beat the game, you're only like 30% done with the game. Then you got to go find all the eggs and do all this other secret stuff. And then you basically got a whole nother game to play. It's amazing. And it's all made by one guy in one engine that he created with sounds that he recorded, with music that he made. I think he made the music. I don't know about that one, but
He built the engine. I'm always stuck on that one of like he built the engine for this
The
game.
game
The
is
PC
like
version is 33 megabytes large.
Yeah, exactly. Like what are we doing here? This is insane. This is insanity. But alas, it is not Balatro. So I understand. My Animal Well must lose the battle.
Hey, what would your follow up or what would your
Whistles the
second
war.
pick be, Hoop?
Let's decide this before I get into, seconds and thirds and fourths,
Sounds like Balatro.
maybe.
Do we do? I'm cool if we want to call it like co-winners, tie
No,
winners.
no,
I don't
no,
care.
no,
like
no,
I said,
no.
this is like neck
No,
and
no,
neck.
no.
This is 1 and 2 for me.
No. Balatro deserves the win.
Okay.
Even though Animal Well, man, you put up a great fight this year. It
Indeed.
just wasn't your year, man. It just wasn't your year. So-
I almost want to call Balatro winner, Animal Well runner up, and then we have 2 honorable mentions because I feel like Animal Well is on a different level of passion.
I mean,
Then-
it is
Plane of
than everything
existence.
else.
I just want to give it its due. It's due.
Balatro and Animal Well are like we're up here. Everything else, unfortunately, they're in the regular tier. Animal Well and Balatro are in like the generational tier.
Well, what about this?
Listeners, you might yeah, I think that's well no, I suggested that and then I suggested that and
no. I think Balatro actually deserves the win here.
Okay.
I think it's a near unanimous vote, and Balatro is my number 2, which I think when you do the math, I mean, allegedly.
And not to spoil the old top 10, but these ones are also neck and neck in their placement on our top 10.
Well, judging by this, sorry, Billy.
It's gonna get.
I don't know if I could have done it. I don't know if I could have did it for you, but hopefully I did.
Okay, so we have 2 of 4. What's everyone's next highest rated game on this list? I think I know because I know your lists, but
is it mouthwashing?
Yes.
What about crab? Is mouthwashing your number 2, Jacob, or 3?
I think it's number 3 for me.
Wait, what was your number 2, did you say?
No, I did not. So let's just pull that up. It was, for me, Astrobot 2, Mouthwashing 3.
Oh, wait. I meant like indie game.
Oh, indie game. Oops. It was Mouthwashing Arco.
Oh, so Arco was your number 2.
Arco, yeah.
I loved Arco.
Luke, you played... Okay.
Yeah, it's very, very, very good.
Lorelei and the Laser Eyes is not on this list, but...
that's true.
Mm-hmm,
yeah.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
But I would go, just out of passion, I would probably go Arco next.
I mean, I think Arco...
I would be fine with that.
Totally.
I think the other ones, Thank Goodness You're Here and Another Crab's Treasure, I also could see hanging. I also could see UFO 50, but I think, Jacob, is it fair as the 2 UFO 50 players? I think we didn't like enough of the games in the collection that it doesn't hang compared to these other experiences where we're like, man, I fucking loved Mouthwashing. Yeah. I loved Thank Goodness You're Here. I loved Arco. Like, I don't have any complaints about those ones.
Yep. I think UFO 50 is a very cool thing.
Yeah.
And if we had an award for coolest thing, it would be UFO 50 this year. But honestly, if I get not to be like this person, but if I get Mouthwashing, I am totally cool to put something else on there instead of Arco, just to make it. I think Arco is also
now we're doing
thing.
Deals. We're doing deals.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm doing the worst kind of deal where I'm essentially like giving up leverage to you guys because I love you so much.
Well, with that said, I could see a world where we have Another Crab's Treasure and Mouthwashing as the other 2.
I played that game. I'm cool with Another Crab's Treasure.
Claire,
I feel like we're just giving up on Thank Goodness You're Here. Where'd the passion go?
The passion is here.
Peens.
The passion is here. I love the Peens. That Peens went on a journey, and we will never forget the journey of the Peens.
Journey of the Peens.
For context, listeners, Jacob got a promotional can of Peens at PAX.
Oh yeah, how'd
that
get
home?
Quite.
It came home with me. It was on my counter for probably 6 to 8 weeks, and then I shipped it internationally.
This might be the only Peens in Canada. We'll see.
Maybe.
Did any of you do the thing where if you win, you can go to the website and tell them that you won, and then they will send you something in the mail?
What?
No,
wait, for Arco? For Arco?
No, this
or
is
for
Thank Goodness.
Thank Goodness You're Here.
Oh, no, I did that for Arco.
Oh, really?
You could go to that website too and tell them you won? This is a thing that multiple games did this year?
Yeah.
What the hell?
If I had a nickel.
Wait, are they published by the same team?
Yeah, they're both Panic.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Panic was
I forgot Arco was also published by Panic.
What if you put this in your game and we sell
Oh, hey,
this
look
website?
at that. I found the website for that. Interesting. Cool.
I want to get sent something.
What if it's Peens?
But I also haven't beat the
I
game.
will say, I'll shout out Thank Goodness You're Here. Easily the funniest game I played this year.
Ever?
Absolutely
Ever?
delightful. I would throw out ever, sure. The tone, the animation, the moment to moment, I thought it was just the right amount of puzzle solving. in relation to like gameplay and laughs, the pacing, the comedic timing, unbeatable. It's great.
Did
Hey.
anyone
Are we
else...
debating panic titles right now? Is it Arco versus Thank Goodness You're Here?
Let me tell you something.
Are
I
we
haven't played
locking-
either of these. Well, I played Thank Goodness You're Here, but I did not finish it, and I have not played Arco. Or I played the demo. I didn't like the demo, unfortunately. So this is up to you guys. What do we want to do here?
I think so. We're essentially trying to decide two spots,
Mhm.
and it's between Arco, Thank Goodness You're Here, Another Crab's Treasure, and Mouthwashing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm fine with Mouthwashing being on there. I think we all played it. We all liked it.
There's a lot of passion for mouthwashing in terms of, but then to that point though, all four of us have played at least some level of Thank Goodness You're Here and enjoyed
correct.
Thank Goodness You're Here.
That's correct.
Whereas
I'm fine with
Crab
that.
has Joseph and I. Mouthwashing has 3 out of 4 of us. I think Thank
Yep.
Goodness You're Here is, to Claire's point, the only one that has the support of all of us. So that kind of makes the argument for that one.
So
How do we
Jacob
feel about that? Yeah.
Hi.
Jacob famously did a deal about 5 minutes ago where he said if we put mouthwashing on the list, he'll give up something else.
Yep.
Now I'm with that deal done. That trade is done. The front office at Hooper Incorporated is willing to trade 2 first-round picks and trade away. I don't have anything to trade. 2 first-round picks next year at Game Awards to get 9 Souls on the list. What do you say, everybody?
Oh, shit.
Right.
I'm just
Oh,
kidding. I'm
shit.
just kidding.
Dark
We have
horse,
an
dark
11th
horse.
Hour, 11th
I'm just
hour.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm
Here's
not gonna
the thing.
trigger it.
Here's
Trigger
the
with some
thing I will
first-round
say
picks
to
next
all
year.
of this, and this is a good preemptive thing for the rest of our categories today. This is our list, and if any individual is so passionate about a game that passion transcends general consensus,
Yeah. I mean, that's
I
fair enough.
respect it. I respect it. I'm not saying it's always going to make it through, but I definitely acknowledge it. So if for you 9 Souls was like frickin' fire,
Look.
which it is, it's great. I played it as well. I can validate that. But
Look, I'm going to be honest with everybody here. I made some mistakes.
be
all right?
honest for what you know.
I made some
I've made
mistakes,
some mistakes.
and I did a lot of reflecting over the past 7 days. and you know, I may have sent my list in and then regretted leaving some games off that list. All right. And I feel a personal debt to the developers. Who is that developer? I won't say. It could be a Chinese developer. It could be, you know, another country developer. I feel a debt to them to advocate for their game. Whether or not that game actually makes it onto any of these lists, that's not my problem. But I will advocate
beautiful
for
influencer
them.
apology you got there, buddy.
I will advocate for them. Please give me a code for your next game. I am a big fan now. Unnamed developer. Thank you.
Love that. Okay. That said,
Still nothing solved.
still
I
nothing.
think no. We have it figured out. Winner Balatro, runner up Animal Well, consensus mouthwashing, other pretty much consensus. Thank goodness you're here. I mean,
I'm good with that.
is
I think
anybody
all
willing
the
to
games-
argue against that?
I don't
If
think
you guys are fine with letting Crab go, that's it.
I mean, I'm fine with that.
I think
there
there's
was
just more
drink in it.
passion for the other two.
All right.
There
is
was
what I
drink
would
in
Sounds
it.
say.
like we got a list.
It's very good. I think if you're looking for, once again, similar to Crypt Custodian, if you want that type of game, it's a great game. Okay.
Absolutely.
Our winners for Best Indie, first category of the day, goes to Balatro with runner-up Animal Well, honorable mentions to Thank Goodness You're Here, and Mouthwashing.
Next year, Animal Well 2. I'll fight for you harder, Animal Well 2.
Animal Weller.
Wellier.
Wellier.
Animal Dwell, where you
Animal
build your
Dwell.
house.
Wow.
Yeah.
Animal Well, deeper down well. We'll
Deeper
keep
wellier.
workshopping it. All right, next up we have Best Music. Joseph, you want to read these noms for us?
Sure, absolutely. We got Best Music. We got Astrobot, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Children of the Sun, Never, Pacific Drive, Paper Trail, mouthwashing, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. And I'm adding a honorable mention here, Stellar Blade. I did not play that game, but I listened to the soundtrack multiple times. So shout out Stellar Blade. You will not win, unfortunately.
It's not accepting my.
This is a good list, I think. I like a lot of these ones.
Can I also give a shout out to Balatro, only
Yeah,
for
I
the
thought about
orchestral
it. I
version
almost
at the Game
added it.
Awards.
Yep.
That was cool.
Honestly, even the
Wow,
chill
wow.
music, like it's just really nice. It serves its purpose. It fits the vibe.
How many songs are on that soundtrack? Is it just one, or do they play multiple songs on that game?
I think
don't
it's
remember.
one, but they chop
There's
it
like
up in certain ways.
variations and like
Exactly.
Like where it comes in is different at different points.
And I think it was a Fiverr thing where Local Funk went to Fiverr to get it.
That's
what the hell,
hilarious.
dude?
That makes
Imagine
sense,
that
though.
person somewhere
Get their bag.
in southern
Let's
Wisconsin
go.
or something who made that track.
And I think what Local Funk ended up doing is did a stream where they then gave Louis F., who did the composing for it, the royalties or some of the royalties from the soundtrack to him, even though he owed nothing.
That's crazy.
Amazing. Well, that's cool.
Yep.
Respect that a whole lot.
All right, so what are we feeling?
Can I talk about Indiana Jones? And
Please
I'm
do.
going to talk about it first because I think it's a little cheating because obviously John Williams' original score for the movies, those themes are used in this game. Fucking incredible, iconic, legendary, decades old as time. I do think the orchestration in this game is incredibly well done. The audio design is fantastic. The little musical cues when you solve a puzzle, when you progress in the story, when there's a little bit of intrigue and you have a moment of music. It's just really well done, and it feels like you are Indiana Jones in a movie in the best way. I think the music adds to the experience. Very high quality. That's what I got. That's what I got.
Definitely movie grade soundtrack just from the little I've played. Absolutely. I second everything you said.
But like there's
And what I
new
appreciate-
arrangements and it just it hits. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
And some of the sound
absolutely.
effects that they end up working
Mhm,
in when you
mhm.
like whip or kill somebody, there's like a very short version of it that I really love too.
Or when you go open the door to a temple and it's like doo-doo-doo-doo. Like it's
Mhm.
I love that shit and it's just really really awesome. Other picks. Claire, do you want to talk about Paper Trail?
Sure.
This category?
I don't think Paper Trail hangs, but I wanted to give
Everyone's
it a shout
being
out.
too nice. We got to stop prefacing with like we can cut it, but I'll say maybe it's like no.
Each level kind of has its own theme, and I found the themes like really just delightful and catchy. And there was one in particular I was like, this is just a really nice little level theme. It got stuck in my head. It was like do this is nice. I think that it was really good for what it was and for the kind of game that it was the music in Paper Trail. I also put on here Pacific Drive because of the like created for the game in world like music that's playing on the radio. I just thought it was really cool that it like contributed in that way to the lore and the ambiance of the game.
They had some great licensed tracks as
Yeah.
well that just fit the Pacific Northwest
Yeah.
vibe, and that one got our
That
nod
combination.
at the Indie Game Awards, obviously, and I think it's a great balance of original music, licensed stuff, audio design.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, great pick.
Can I talk about mouthwashing really fast?
Yeah, please.
Again, I don't think that this one hangs because I think there are at least two soundtracks here that I would put above it. But Martin Halden did such a great job at putting together this like spacey. It almost has PNW. It's almost like what if you took PNW and sent it to space. And it has a lot of these like cool ambient tracks. The opening theme bangs. So I would say like if you're working, throw this on in the background. A couple of the tracks you're gonna have to skip because like again, this thing's, you know how game soundtracks are with OSTs. There's 33 tracks on it and some of them are 45 seconds and it's for a very scary part of the game. But overall, I think the soundtrack bangs.
It's so vibey and weird and
Yep.
synth heavy and yeah, no,
Mhm.
it's great. Very good.
One more honorable mention, actually. Haunty, I forgot Haunty, man, when we talk about
Yeah, Haunty's
emotional
solid.
pieces, like there's just something about Haunty where you play that game and you see these beautiful set pieces, and then you see these beautiful arrangements on top of these like cinematic set piece moments. There's something in my heart that just is like, man, this is beautiful. I love this. Makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. Shout out Haunty. And the OST is on Spotify, and I suggest people go listen to it.
Hell yeah.
Shout out to soundtracks being on Spotify now. Really,
Whoa,
Yeah,
he's
well,
advertising.
So hype.
yeah, almost did it.
I was also going to shout out Children of the Sun. Epic, punk rock as hell, grungy, weird. That game is like so dirty in a good way.
Whoa.
Does that make sense? Like, it's just like, ah, shit, this is like nasty with a capital
Yes.
nasty, and just like
Yeah.
this has
Nasty
like
with a G.
grit to it, you know? I mean that as a compliment. I'm not talking down about the game, but it's just like such an interesting vibe, and I think the music literally cranks it up to 11, and I think complements the game very, very well.
Nice. So what's our winner? Everybody's saying, yeah, this game I want to shout out, but it's not going to make it. So what's actually going to make it here?
I think we got to talk about those two top ones there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Astrobot. Let's talk about Final Fantasy. Holy shit! What
Yeah.
games? I
What
think
more do you want?
my personal pick is Astrobot, because I think it took simple themes from Astro's Playroom and the VR rescue mission and whatnot, but elevated it to the nth degree. The orchestrations, the remixes, every PlayStation first party themed level, like remixing the God of War theme. God of War is so fucking cool.
Oh,
Or the
yeah.
Uncharted theme, Loco Roco, like
boy.
all that stuff is handled so well, and it's fan service, but I think it's incredibly well orchestrated and arranged music, and the multiple genres that are happening. You got more like techno stuff, you have more orchestral stuff, it runs the full gamut, and I think it stands on its own. It enhances the game experience, and it gives that, like, we've been making comparisons of Astrobot to a Nintendo game because it's that polished and that like meaningful and childlike wonderment. I think the music 1000% enhances that vibe.
And just how like the words in the tracks that have words are part of the level is so cool.
Yeah. Love
Shout
it.
out to Kenny Young for that one.
It's so good.
Shout out Kenny Young. I mean, but Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, come on now, like that soundtrack. I mean, first of all, any Final Fantasy soundtrack cheat code every year they're putting out. You know, they could just put on an orchestra concert, no game, and just put out a soundtrack every year and just, you know, rake in the buku bucks, because my goodness. I mean, the official soundtrack is not on Spotify yet, but if I had to guess, we're probably over 200 tracks. Like, remixes.
Guess what? 8 CDs, 209 tracks for the special edition.
There we go.
Hell yeah.
There we go. 209
10 hours,
tracks.
over 10
8
hours of
CDs
music.
Like,
in
this is just-
2024. That's amazing.
It's an insane amount of music.
Mhm.
There's a lot. I mean, and I was talking on the Player podcast about this. The soundtrack is so crazy that you'll hear a song and you're like, yo, this song banged, and you'll just never hear it again because they just have so many tracks. Like, there's just bangers upon bangers. There's so many like remixes to classic songs. A lot of remixes to classic songs, actually. A lot of music very perfectly timed for the moments to make real big impact. And that one remix of like the Chocobo song, like the Chocobo rap hip hop beat, man, I love that one. That's one of my favorites. So yeah, I love this one. I love listening to, well, right now I'm listening to Final Fantasy 16, but once I get the Rebirth soundtrack, that one's going to be on loop.
I saw the Rebirth concert in person in 2024, and
No
seeing
way.
or hearing like the Sephiroth, like that shit.
Yeah.
Just I was with two grown men that almost cried during that concert. And look, what other soundtrack makes grown men cry this year? I think that's the only one.
I think the variety too, once again, spanning genres, remixing original themes. You can't understate the scale and execution. I think the music is my favorite thing about Rebirth. So yeah, no complaints from me for it taking the category. Joseph and Jacob, would you put Rebirth over Astrobot personally?
I
okay.
would. I would.
Claire, how do you feel with that? I'm good. No complaints.
Nope.
Very solid. Can Astrobot be
2?
number 2?
Yes, sure. I am Astrobot.
And then as someone who has not really played this game extensively, I've played about an hour of it.
Astrobot?
No. I played the whole game and multiple times. Like picked it back up to play the DLCs. I was going to say Astrobot, obviously runner-up. Pacific Drive as our second runner-up.
I like that.
All right. I'm down with that. I have no objection. Everything turned purple for a second.
I'm having a hard time of doing this on my phone.
You don't have to do it on your phone. I can do it right here.
Yeah, we can also help you with that.
I like that. All right.
Oh, no.
That was not me.
For video viewers, we're having some Google Doc fun over here. Some shenanigans are afoot. Okay. So for best music, our overall winner goes to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth with runner-ups Astrobot and Pacific Drive. Very nice.
Yay.
Alrighty. Moving right along to best visuals technical. Production note, should we stop there or can we knock out? We might be able to knock out.
This is only 4
best
games.
Visual. Yeah, I think we can do this one. And wait, so we just have to cut one?
Basically.
All right. Best visuals technical. Jacob, do you want to read?
I'd love to.
Run us through these noms.
Our nominees for best visuals technical: Astrobot, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Call of Duty, Black Ops 6, and Indiana Jones and the Great Circle.
Suggestion.
Yes.
What if we cut Call of Duty?
Sounds
great. Walk
great.
away.
What
Done.
if we cut Call of Duty?
Done.
We got Harrison Ford and Indiana Jones, and the other two are obviously...
High level, though, are we missing anything here? With, like... Because art direction, obviously, the next category is pretty stacked in terms of, like, really stylized picks, but we didn't have, like, there wasn't a big Forza, there wasn't a big, like, Sony first-party thing besides Astrobot that we're forgetting.
Elden Ring, Shadow of the
Elden
Erdtree,
Ring
was
is
that a good-looking
good.
thing?
But it was also.
But I almost would throw that in an
Yeah.
art direction over a technical.
Yeah, I would too. I mean, out of what we played, I think we have the list. I mean, I'm sure like something like a Dragon Age or Dragon's Dogma. Or
One I'll
Silent
shout
Hill
out.
2?
I didn't get a chance to play this one, but Jacob, does Indica hang here at all?
No, it does not.
Okay, fair enough.
I think direction, yes.
Gotcha.
Graphics technical, no.
Very fair. I just remember seeing trailers that the fidelity was like more advanced than I would have expected.
I think for the budget that this game has, it is wildly impressive, and much like Mouthwashing, the direction on it at one point, they do some stuff with camera work that I think is really impressive, but I don't think it hangs.
Okay.
But I think there is one that we are missing, and that would be Senua's Saga Hellblade 2.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. I was just looking at this list and I was like, I can't think of that's a good call out. Question for the peanut gallery. Anybody play this?
Am I doing this
I did.
Oh, okay.
I did play half of it, I would assume. I mean, good point, Jacob. When we're talking about technical visuals, it does look real. It does look very real. Like it's very, very technically impressive. So if we're just going off that, sure, I think maybe it deserves a spot, but
I'll shout out Indiana Jones with this one, that I think motion capture, lighting, environmental textures all look really great.
Really good. It's
really,
like Harrison
really
Ford
great.
is in the room.
Yeah.
Like 40 years ago.
The fact that they took his likeness and it doesn't look super janky and weird, I'm like, all right, that's a big one.
Yeah. And I think just walking around, exploring the environments, looking off in the distance at the pyramids, going into tombs, seeing like the cobblestone in the Vatican steps and different things. Like, I think it's very well done and definitely deserves a hang. So we're really just cutting stuff here, but
Machine Games, and then previously, because I think they're for a lot of former Starbreeze folks, they
Sure.
always do, and it's hard to explain, but like the character models always seem big on screen. Like the faces seem big. That's always been their kind of style, and I appreciate how much character, especially with the villains, Machine Games always manages to get.
Yep.
I agree.
True.
Yo, are we gonna talk about the particle effects in Astrobot though?
Insane.
Crazy.
Insane.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I think just like
particle effects.
just how much on screen is being thrown at you at
Depth,
any
yeah.
given time, and how it doesn't miss a
Textures,
beat.
yeah.
Textures.
Lighting.
The one room where you turn, or the one level where you like turn into a cannonball and go into the little volcanoes. There's like a secret room where there's a bunch of gems, and there's like 1,000 gems on the ground that you're walking through. And I was just like, "Whoa, this is crazy!" My my PS5 is not exploding. This is insane. I love this.
I think too, like in relation to how good it looks, how good it feels in relation, it's like, oh man, these particles look insane, but then the moving through them also feels really satisfying, which I think enhances the visual experience.
Yep. I mean,
does it get a knock in this category just because it's not realistic? I don't think that's important. I think it's just like,
I don't know if it gets a knock, but I mean,
I don't think it does. I guess more just playing devil's advocate just to check.
I think there are very few games in the PS5 generation that do incredibly large like scale stuff. Like some of the bosses in this thing, or some of the even like that robot that occupies that island, and the way he comes in, brings hands.
Yeah,
I think that doesn't get enough shine from folks that talk about this kind of stuff. That's impressive.
That's fair. I agree. For the record, I want it on this list. I was just kind of checking where we're at.
I think it's more of like the art direction ones are like, oh, this is really beautifully like painted, or it's like low poly, but it looks really cool. It's like stylized, but like the technical detail, even though it's like more of a cartoony style, is there for Astrobot.
How are we feeling about Rebirth? I think the cutscenes insane production value, like
correct.
Best in the business for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Open world stuff, facial models of NPCs. I think it's definitely better than
16?
Remake and 16. Yeah, I'd say for both. I think it's a step above. I definitely think it's
I mean,
I was looking at this rest of the list now with our new additions, and I don't know I would. I haven't played Hellblade 2, but just visually looking at Hellblade 2, it's hard to not argue the relevance of that in this category.
Yeah, I would say
there's a reason why.
Hellblade 2 clears Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for me, at least personally. Like,
sure.
I think the open world for sure takes a step down compared to the rest of these games, where I feel like they're more consistent throughout. And then also, I'm going to put a knock, now that you mentioned it, I'm putting a knock against Final Fantasy VII, because Final Fantasy 16 cutscenes, I think, are better than Final Fantasy VII cutscenes in terms of technical holy crapness, even though they're both great.
Sure. So I'm hearing a lot of passion for Astrobot. I'm hearing some passion for Hellblade on a technical level.
One person that played it. Somebody go watch a 4K trailer real quick.
It's real pretty. That's. I think for me, it's Astrobot and Indie are my two that I'd lobby for somewhere on this list. Otherwise, I'm cool with whatever the room feels.
I'm here to back those two as well.
All right.
Astrobot, Indie.
I feel like Astrobot can win. It's the feel factor. It's it looks so good and it feels so good. Therefore, on a technical level, they're doing a whole real lot in terms of innovation.
Astrobot the win. I'm not opposed to getting Astrobot the win at all.
Yeah, neither am I. But I'm conflicted about Rebirth almost having most graphics technical, and then like losing out to Indiana Jones. That's where I'm at. I think Hellblade 2 coming in Dark Horse, you look at it and you go, man, there's a reason why that studio and their motion capture is top notch.
May I make a counterpoint to Hellblade 2?
Yes.
It looks real good, but none of us played it except for Hooper for a couple hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I
It's true.
feel like
It's
that
true.
it's our list. You know what I
Yeah.
mean, to some extent. So
It's
if
true.
like if Rebirth is the favorite amongst this group because that's the one we played and enjoyed, I think that's a fair nod here. So I wouldn't be opposed to Astrobot, Indie, and Rebirth, and Ditch and Hellblade. Even though it does look real good, but it's like, to some extent, I feel like if we weren't motivated to play it, should it be on the list?
That's a good
I'm
point.
down with your argument.
That's a good point. Sorry, Hellblade 2, maybe Hellblade 3. Maybe you'll make it. Hellblade 3 and Animal Well 2.
That's gonna be a great year.
Year of dreams.
But if we feel, also I feel some passion for Indie in the room. I don't think I'm alone in that.
No,
But
no,
if we
I
feel
support
like
that.
Hellblade hangs over Indie,
No.
okay,
We don't
thank
need
you.
to do all that.
Okay. I didn't want that, but I'm trying to be agreeable for later fights.
Actually, I think you're right, Luke. Let's take
Man.
Indy off.
Y'all brought butter knives today, I guess.
We're not there yet.
I mean, if I had one single more vote for
The next
Animal Well,
three
I would've been
categories
there.
are about to get spicy.
Well, first of all, best moment. Will I even be here for this? Have I played half of these moments? I don't want to hear how. I don't want to hear how Lorelai ends.
That's gonna be interesting.
That might have to be. We'll do our signature. Go get a drink
Put
of
your
water for
headphones
5
on or
minutes,
whatever.
and then
Mm-hmm.
we'll gush for 30 seconds, and then move on. Okay, all right, everybody, we are back into it. We are talking about best visuals art direction.
Don't
Claire,
forget
would
to
you
share
like?
that screen.
Oh yes, thank you. I forget it every time. Appreciate you all. There we go. Claire, would you like to read our nominees for Best Visuals Art Direction?
All right. So the nominees are Phoenix Springs, Mouthwashing, Fear the Spotlight, Caravan Sandwich, Mars After Midnight, Neva, Metaphor Refantasio, The Plucky Squire, Haunty, Harold Halibut, Ultros, Botany Manor, Scheme, Ete, and 1,000 Times Resist.
This category slaps.
Yep. Can I start with some quick hits
Please
here?
do. Get in there.
So, 2 games we haven't talked about. Phoenix Springs, which is we might have talked about it actually previously.
Briefly.
Not
we
on
did.
this Goaty conversation, but on the pod,
Yes.
yeah.
So this game looks great. It looks like a 60s era Superman comic. A lot of greens, a lot of yellows, a lot of blacks, like very defined lines. The graphics, in my opinion, are like top notch. This is one of the best looking games of the year from an artistic standpoint. And then the second one I'd love to cover really quickly because I'm the only person with a play date is Mars After Midnight. I would just love to say the character designs in that one are very, very good, despite being sort of a 1-bit game from Oberdin is Lucas Pope. Great looking game. So wanted to give it its flowers there.
I feel like that one does a lot with the constraints.
Yes.
Yeah, very cool. Where to start with this one? I can talk about Fear the Spotlight
on this thing?
and Metaphor. Joseph, do you want to
not?
chat about Metaphor?
Yeah, Metaphor has a very inspired visual design. Definitely still pretty snazzy in comparison to like a Persona 5. Persona 5 famously has its like very jazzy, like stylistic menus and visual style and effects. Metaphor has the same thing, but with like more of a fantasy touch to it. Still very stylized menus, UI, animations, all that stuff. Quite frankly, the actual visuals of the game where you're like wandering around in the open world, pretty par for the course. Very much similar to like a Persona 5 or anything like that. I don't think the character models themselves have improved that much, but yeah, everything else, like the whole like design of everything is very nice, especially with Atlas taking its first stab at like the fantasy genre.
Hell yeah. I'll shout out Fear the Spotlight. That was one that I feel like we're in the era of cool takes on PS1 polygonal style art, and I think this is one of my favorites. I really like the VHS style kind of fuzz filter that the visuals have to it. I thought it had a nice color palette, and I enjoyed the way it used lighting effects and different things, and the items you encounter in the world are also cool and add to the overall spooky vibes. But really like the style of that one. I don't know if it'll hang in the end, but definitely worth a shout out.
So, where are we on this?
Yeah.
This one I actually don't really know.
I'd love to know what everyone's like front runner is, just to kind of narrow the window. I love all of these for different reasons, and art direction, we get into this ambiguous thing where it's like, are we awarding the most innovative? Are we awarding just the coolest? Are we awarding the most striking? Kind of all of. I think it can be kind of.
Are we awarding the process?
Sure.
Like with Harold Halibut.
I'd also throw out like 1000X Resist as a, like I mentioned when that game came up earlier, doing a lot within the constraints of the budget and reusing assets in unique ways. I think the visual style of that game is crazy, and they created this language of societal commentary with colors and futuristic vibes, and they made a freaking really compelling world, visually speaking, with, like I said, limited resources, which I think is very impressive.
Yeah, my front runner, to be honest, even though I didn't play much of it, Haunty.
It's stunning.
I still am like blown away by just that visual, that black and white, and green, and all these different color schemes that they put together. And for whatever reason, that art style just has like a big emotional impact on me. And then I guess my runner up would be Neva. Those would probably be the two that come to mind when I think of best visuals.
I think Neva has to be one of our three.
My number one on this list for sure. It's just so stunning, and the things they do, especially in later levels with like depth, where there are like splotches and textures in like way in front of even the player, and then there are just so many layers to the visuals. It's really cool.
I would be good with Neva. I have not played Neva, but I've looked at Neva. I just played Gris this year. It looks like a beautiful game.
And I think we talked about it previously, but the scale and perspective, and it's just such an all-encompassing, compelling visual package. Yes. Yeah, I'd be inclined for Neva, I think, as a winner. What would everyone's second pick be? Joseph, you said, I'm totally blanking what your Haunty, that's right.
Yeah, and then like third would probably be Metaphor, I guess. But like after Haunty, I don't really have a lot of like personal investment in any of them. I'm kind of fine with any. I mean, Neva won. I'm happy with that. So
I think my next one after Neva would honestly be 1000X Resist.
Interesting choice.
Just I was really compelled. I think visually, in the way they reused assets and created their own visual style, just was really striking to me. I don't necessarily think it's the most like technically impressive or like striking thing, but it really stood out to me.
Would that be more of a direction thing? Because my mind went to like, I think that 1000X Resist and Mouthwashing are the two best directed games of the year.
Mm-hmm.
They'll probably get their flowers in best narrative. But you're saying additionally the art direction, because in my mind, what does art direction mean? Does that include like camera direction, or is that just on the art?
I think we're specifically talking. Semantic. No. I guess when I think about it, I think visual aesthetic.
Okay.
So that could encompass style. That could encompass cinematography in a sense that. I don't know, but what do y'all think? Because I think, we're building this together. Claire, how do you feel? Or
I'll let Joseph go.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when I think of art direction, I think of like, all right, if we go back to this team's like sketches of like what their vision of the game would be like. I don't know what are those things called where you have like the artwork
Concept
of
art?
what it. There we go, Claire. The concept, like when you look at the concept art and you say, okay, what was this vision for this game? That's kind of what I think about for art direction. That's kind of just what I picture in my head. I don't know if that's a good
Sure.
enough explanation, but
No, I think that's fair. To your point, Jacob, about like the direction of it, I think there's an element of like attention to detail. And like I'll use Thousand X Resist as the example, but it's like the way like the uniforms the characters wear and the aesthetic of the buildings they're in, and in some cases the minimalism of the environments or the specific colors that were chosen. Like I think that's all part of the art direction in my mind, is like that visual package and the way we perceive the game. But I think to the point of this category, we can kind of interpret it multiple ways of like, from an artistic standpoint, Harold Halibut is the most like involved
Yeah.
pick on this list in terms of what went into the game. Ultros has the like craziest color palette or something, you know what I mean? So there is multiple ways we could approach. But I think it boils down to like visually, what were you taken aback by to some extent?
Yeah, I think when just saying kind of where I'm at is I would probably go Phoenix Springs and Harold Halibut as my runners up. But I've seen Haunty in action, and I've said this on one of our previous shows. But in that first 20 minutes, when you see, when you walk over a giant space and you see down the space, I was like, Joseph, you're right. This is a very artistically, it's a great looking game.
Yep.
I'm good with any of those, to be honest. I think they're all visually compelling in their own right. Phoenix Springs is a cool one that we haven't had a chance to highlight in other categories, and it does feel like if it was going to win in any category, it should be this one.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Not enough people played that game.
Mm-hmm.
And look, it's one that kind of left me with a little bit to be desired at the end, but that's strictly because I don't like games that like leave you with open questions. That's just me.
Sure.
This game only has, I think, 100, something like 100 reviews on Steam. 86 reviews on Steam.
We need
Criminal.
more.
Yeah.
Criminal.
More.
So I'm cool with that one getting one of the runners up. So then we're just deciding one more slot.
I think just calling it out is enough. So if you guys wanted to go and pick between Haunty, Harold Halibut, and Thousand X Resist, I'm cool with that.
If I'm the only one that's gunning for Thousand X Resist in this category, it can be cut. If I'm outvoted, I respect that. I agree that it's not the most visually impressive or striking, but there's just something about I think the direction element is what I'm kind of stuck on with that one. But if it doesn't hang, that's fine.
I mean, use of color in that game also is great.
Well, and then there's like the visual perspective and certain levels where it goes into first person or it goes into an isometric view or it cuts in different
Lighting
types
is not
of
impressive.
Yeah, like it plays with like your perception of reality in a unique way, and it's one of those where it's like, I think if the game wasn't firing on all cylinders visually, I don't think it would work to some extent. So I feel passionately about it being in the category, but if I'm outvoted, that's okay. I'm not gonna lose my mind.
I'll just give, like, because I'm the one who's pushing Phoenix Springs, I will give that one up. Give that one up.
I don't think you have to do that. We're all okay with it.
The way I see it here is these are all runners ups. So I'm down to give it, like, Luke, you feel passionately about 1000X Resist. I am not really. Like, sure, I mean, now we only have 3 there, but like, I don't need to really fight for Haunty. And Harold Halibut, I mean, let the cat out of the bag. Harold Halibut put me to sleep. Thousand X Resist didn't really resonate with me either. So either way, I'm not too pressed on either of these. So like if we're putting 1000 X Resist over Harold Halibut, I'm like, that's cool with me as well. So I think you're the only one who's like really passionate about the 1000 X resist pick, and then I guess I'm passionate about the Haunty. I would be down to do those two if you want.
Seems like
unless we're
Harold
just-
Halibut's the odd one out.
Harold Halibut's a tough one because visually I think it's incredible, but I wasn't vibing with it either after the hour or so that I played.
I think that's the one we all know probably should win, but none of us really like that game all that too much, so we're kind of like, eh.
But I do think that's part of it within this category. We're not talking crap, but when it's like, is it one of our absolute favorites of the year? No.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean,
it's kind of the same argument I made for Hellblade of like,
right.
if
Yeah,
we didn't
right.
vibe with the
Yeah.
game, that's definitely part of it.
I agree. I'm down with this list.
Okay,
I think we've decided.
sweet.
Nice.
Locking it in.
All
Best
right, Luke.
visuals, art direction goes to Neva with runners-up Haunty and 1000 X Resist.
Woo.
Luke, you said that the best narrative, you were teasing that like you had some
This
fight
is-
in you on this one.
I think this is going to be our possibly the most contentious category.
No
I
way.
don't
I'm-
think it will be.
Really? Okay,
No.
maybe it
I
won't
don't
be.
think so.
Jacob, would you like to read our best narrative nominees?
I would love to. Our nominees for Best Narrative: Mouthwashing, 1000 X Resist, Indica, Thank Goodness You're Here, Arco, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Botany Manor, Indiana Jones, and The Great Circle.
So it's mouthwashing, right?
Yes, that's the correct
Yeah.
answer.
Okay, best moment. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Look, I think I'll just state the obvious. I think we're both in the Mouthwashing 1000 X Resist will be among the top three.
Yes.
Yeah.
I firmly believe so. I finished 1000 X Resist last night specifically so I could really weigh in on this versus discussion.
Mhm.
I think they're both very striking and very interesting, and I appreciate them both for their stories immensely. But I had a more engaging, thought-provoking experience with mouthwashing, personally. I walked away from that and I'm like, I'm not going to forget this game. And I finished 1000 X Resist and I was like, this is very compelling. I think I prefer mouthwashing.
I think the wildest part about Mouthwashing is that I played it right before it came out, and even afterwards, I didn't really realize what the game is about. Even though there are themes that are very clear on there about like capitalism in the future, but actually, what's the game about? It's about something entirely different.
To that, and I'm playing devil's advocate because I agree with you, but with 1000 X Resist, I'd also argue that there's like multiple different lenses you can look at that narrative, and that's why I almost think like I just finished it last night, but I think if you ask me my opinion about the game in 6 months, I'll probably feel even more strongly about it because I think it'll age well the more I get to unpack it, the more I get to talk to people about it. So, but we're ranking it now, and so I would definitely give mouthwashing the edge. Can I poke at a couple other ones on this list just to get a
Please.
read for folks? I didn't finish Rebirth. I fell off Rebirth, and I know I made the proclamation that I was going to finish it before this podcast, but I prioritized a bunch of indie games instead. Does it hang?
Can I hot take?
Please.
I think most of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth story is bad.
Ooh.
Okay. Did you put it on this list?
I don't know if I did.
You definitely did. I didn't put it on the
I
list.
didn't put it on this list.
I didn't put it on the list.
Wait,
Jacob put
maybe-
it on the list.
I might have put it on the list then.
or did I put
I-
it on the list assuming you guys would
Maybe.
want to talk about it? Maybe that happened because I didn't put it on the list.
It sounds like we should take it off.
I think we
the
should
list,
take it off
you
the
guys.
list.
I'll
Yeah.
tell you what. I'll
I
tell you
love
what
those
about Final
characters,
Fantasy
but I
Rebirth.
fell off hard.
Yep.
Final Fantasy
look,
Rebirth, I will say I enjoyed it. It was a fun game. My best moments when we were doing dumb shit. When we were doing dumb shit, I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, okay, this doesn't mean
The
anything.
parade,
Like, we can all
that
have
was
fun.
so fun.
The parade, like one of the best moments. But then we get into actually what are we doing in this game, and we're like, wow, I've been playing for dozens of hours, and we haven't really done much. And then we get to the end of the game. No spoilers here, but we end and it's like, huh. So this is what the dozens of hours was for, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. And also, you're in a maze for like 2 hours seeing ghosts and whatnot. And I'm like, you got to get me out of here, man.
Yeah.
I thought the game was almost over. You put me in that maze, and that really pissed me off. So take it off the dang list. But go ahead, Jacob.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like you said, hanging with friends is the best part of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Yep.
There was parts in it where I played it for 70 hours. I got in hour 40 or 50, and I was like, "What am I doing in this game? I don't even know." Some orb that's white or black? I don't remember. What are they called? I don't know. Magica?
Dark materia.
Dark materia. There you go.
Okay.
Anyway.
So I poked and we cut. I'll shout out Indiana Jones real quick. I don't necessarily think it's going to hang with this group, but it's really solid. It's better than it has any right to be. I think the voice performances are outstanding. I think it stands with the best films in terms of the narratives. In terms of the narrative, it's a great adventure story, globetrotting, cool ties to real history while playing with some supernatural stuff. The villain Voss is incredibly compelling and a big bad action movie character that definitely reminds me of like the best of like Far Cry villains or that sort of thing. Yeah, I just think Machine Games did a really nice job with this one, and I was very, I would say pleasantly surprised because I thought I would enjoy it because I'm a big Indiana Jones fan, but I think it's better than it just being a good license game story, I think.
I want to quickly shout out two that aren't on the list. One, once again, paying my debt, Nine Souls. Fantastic story. A lot of great, touching questions posed as you go through about good and evil, like I mentioned earlier. Second game, Crow Country. Now, you're going to play Crow Country, and you're not going to end the game like with deep self-reflection, but I think it's just a nice, fun little mystery story with some very dark and like a little fucked up aspects to it as well, that I just really enjoy. Like I played it on Halloween or like over the Halloween weekend, and I was just like, yeah, this bangs. It's short, it's sweet, and it definitely surprised me in a couple points, which I wasn't expecting. So
yeah, I can't wait to play it. I'm excited.
I'll shout out Botany Manor, which definitely does not hang, because it doesn't like really have a narrative. There's not really much that happens in the game. You're just finding artifacts around the manor that kind of tell you what has happened in the player character's life up until this point. And then at the end, there is a moment. Did I not put that on best moment? Okay. I will just say it now. Spoilers for Botany Manor.
no. Okay, go ahead.
So basically, all the artifacts are pointing to ways that this female botanist has been kept out of the science of botany, because during that time, women weren't allowed to be scientists.
Oh hell yeah, misogyny! Let's go.
And you know, all the ways that she was kept out of the field and tried to do it anyway. And then it ends with her converting her manor into a school for other female aspiring natural scientists.
Hell yeah.
Oh hell yeah.
So that was a cool moment in a game that was otherwise very story light. So I just wanted to shout that out because I thought it was very touching.
That's awesome. Jacob, do you want to chat about Indica? I think you're the only one who's played it. It's on my radar. I want to check it out.
Yeah, so Indica is definitely an interesting game. The way I like to think about it is that it is a like 6 out of 10 playing game, with an 8.5 like story kind of wrapped into it. You play as a nun who hears the devil inside of her brain, and so you have to go on some misadventure through the game. This misadventure, you deal with things like one person getting, sepsis and getting one of their, spoilers for Indica. Do you guys care if I spoil this or
I'm
no?
going to take it off because I was gifted it for Secret Santa and then tell me.
Okay. Joseph? Okay, you meet a man. His name is Ilya, and through the course of essentially the main objective, he gets frostbitten, he gets sepsis in his arm, it gets amputated, and then you end up going and getting to your objective, which a priest dies in that moment, and then from there, shit just goes bananas. It deals a lot like
if
in
we weren't
questions.
bananas enough.
Yeah, it's a game that like you question religion the entire time, and there are points that you get in the game, and they basically go like, do points even matter? Like essentially likening points in video games to like religion and giving in religion and kind of maybe getting nothing back. Rad, just the playing it part sucks. So Indica.
Rip. All right, we're good, Luke.
Am I good?
Yeah, you're good.
Heard something about Frostbite. That's all I got.
Yep, great
Cool.
engine.
Cool. Okay.
So
Arco,
mouthwashing one? Did we
Mark
do that?
washing
sorry.
one, definitely.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
I was just gonna do a quick Arco shout out of I think the
Yeah,
story in that game's real good.
Agreed.
I think when you demo it, it's not immediately apparent based on the gameplay, but really cool commentary on why am I blanking?
Colonialism.
Thank you. Gosh.
There we go.
My
We
brain
made
was
it.
like communism. I'm like, it's
No,
not
that's not that
communism.
one.
That's not
Which
what
ism?
I'm looking for. Yeah. Colonialism, the stories of indigenous people, just a really well done game that visually you'd look at and be like, I don't expect there to be a story, but it's a really cool story, and I think it's really well executed.
I have a suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're looking for one more nomination.
Mm-hmm.
It's a game we haven't mentioned in the last 4 minutes, but what if it was Thank Goodness You're Here? What if?
Down.
What I mean, when we're talking about comedy, it's so hard to like. First of all, it's so hard to write a compelling story at all, but to have a story that's as funny as it is, and I think pays homage to this little UK town that the developers grew up in. I'm very impressed with how that pulled everything together, and everybody played it and enjoyed it and thought it was really funny. So
Foreshadowing to our best moment category, but just the chimney bit
The
alone,
through
like that's
line.
what I'm talking about
Yeah.
with timing of like they had to come up with that idea and pace it out within the gameplay, and the joke pays off every time, or the plate falling off the cabinet, like all that stuff I think is really great.
I think the thing that really ties it all together for me is something I learned after the fact, which is how you can speedrun the game.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
because I told you can beat it
By
immediately if you just stay
not doing
in the
anything.
office and sit there. Too good. I think I'd love to see that one. I like it. I think
Yep.
it'd be fun.
Down.
And I think to
Alright.
your point, Joseph, like we all liked it a lot, so
right.
feels representative. Awesome.
Nice.
Well, that wasn't as contentious as I thought, to be honest.
I told you.
Best narrative goes to Mouthwashing with runners-up 1,000 Times Resist and Thank Goodness You're Here. I keep intermixing X and Times Resist. I don't know what's correct on that one. I've heard everyone say either which way, but good game regardless.
Mm-hmm.
All right, closing things out before we do our top 10 reveal, we have Best Moment. Our nominees are Indica, 8-bit sequences, 1,000 Times Resist, The Ending, 1,000 Times Resist, Car Ride, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes Ending, Mouthwashing Sunset, Mouthwashing Ending, Mouthwashing Final Puzzle, Europa, Realizing What You Are, Thank Goodness You're Here, Cow Sequence, Thank Goodness You're Here, Chimney Cleaner, Thank Goodness You're Here, Rats,
That's fine.
Threshold Best Ending, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth Queen's Blood, Little Kitty Big City Tanuki Technology, I Am Your Beast Final Level, Astrobot Ending, Nine Souls, Lady Eternal /G/Big Bro. Can we also add for Rebirth the parade
Yeah.
sequence, because that was real good
Mm.
as well.
Mm.
I just thought of that while we were looking at the list. Okay.
Do we need the moment at the start of 1,000X Resist also?
Oh,
It's in the
like
trailer, so
very-
I don't think it's a big
very
spoiler
beginning?
where somebody gets stabbed. Okay, we'll leave it.
I also, to be honest, when you write car ride, I'm not sure. Maybe I'm just forgetting. Car ride. No. Duh. Sorry, I did it last night. It was late. Now I remember. Okay. Lol.
That's all good.
Do we want to just go game by game and kind of break down some of these?
Let's do it.
Wait. Question.
Yes.
Would it be hard to vote on this? Because, I mean, I assume some of us are going to be taking our headphones off. Some of us are going to, some of us didn't play certain things.
Is that easier? Chaos. Do we want to just vote and keep it clean?
I think we should at least talk about
No. What I'm saying is it going to be hard to pick one when we're not listening to maybe half of the things people are saying?
I see what you're saying. Why don't we?
We did last year.
Yeah.
Last year we just selected a cool moment.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that.
Let's go through and talk about our favorites.
That's a good call out, though, Joseph, to your point of then we can we'll talk about Indica, we'll talk about Thousand X Resist, Lorelei mouthwashing, etc.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to kick us off with Indica, Jacob?
Yeah. So spoilers for Indica. In Indica, there are 8-bit sequences where you play out moments from the titular character's childhood. And I think that one gameplay of it's typically cool. Like at one point you get like a Frogger-esque game and they're like based on old school, very classic games. But one of them in particular has a very important story moment that explains to you why the main character is the way they are. It's rad. One of my favorite parts of this game. I almost want the team that made this to make an 8-bit game after this. They were that good. So that's the 8-bit sequences in Indica.
Cool.
Nice.
Do we go to 1000 X Resist now?
I returned 1000 X Resist.
You guys beckon me back.
Spoilers for 1000 X Resist.
Are there multiple endings to this game here?
So here's the way I thought about it, is that it's almost like a Mass Effect. It reminded me a lot of Mass Effect 2 in that there are, I don't know how many binary choices are, but it seems like there are maybe like 6 or 7 binary choices. Sure. And that just like sort of affects what happens in your ending. I don't think it's that consequential, but I think it is cool.
So at the end, do y'all care about spoilers? We're good?
I don't, and Joseph already took off his headphones.
Okay. So you're like picking who to forgive there at the end. Does that directly affect it? Because I'm curious what you did there and what happened subsequently for you.
I think that there are two different endings. There's like a blue ending and a red ending.
I had red, yes.
Okay. And I think that just comes down to
who you forgive.
Your binary choices, yeah.
Got it. Okay. I thought the ending was fine. I liked the ride up to the ending a lot more. Bless you.
Bless you.
Yeah, I'm totally with you that the ending is not the best part of this game.
I had the red ending and I forgave almost everybody, and then everyone was dead, and then Miscellaneous went out, or no, Blue, not Blue. No, Miscellaneous, the person that you're playing, the white suit, walked outside, and then there were 4 new sisters with colored suits sitting on the beach, so it was like the cycle's continuing or something. I haven't like fully unpacked it because I was playing it at 2:30 in the morning last night. But yeah, I thought the journey up until the point, if we were going to pick 1000 times resist moment, I would say the car ride was more striking. It caught me more off guard.
There are even other moments outside of these ones that
I'd also... Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
There's the moment like with the eyes that's like crazy intense. The train ride sequence I think is quite compelling.
Yep.
The stab moment.
Yes.
Anytime you have like visual changes moments, there's like, I would put those all higher.
Going through the riot is also like kind of wild. Or
like that swap where then you're playing as Blue and then you go in and like that whole sequence. Yeah, I would put that higher too.
Yeah, I even the moment with Zhao where they try and reproduce a Zhao and there's like their face is messed up. That is something I remember too.
Or like the reveal that Principal is youngest.
Yes.
Like that whole I'd almost say that sequence probably. That was the one that I was like, oh shit, that actually changes everything. Because then from there it was just like, for me it felt like they didn't introduce new stuff after that. It felt like we were kind of retreading. Although I will say the like Mission Impossible style, we're gearing up for this mission and we're gonna break in and rally the troops. That was also cool. Okay.
I would be down with youngest reveal.
I think that's
the moment.
I think if we were going to give one for the game, that would be mine. I think the car ride is cool. But I think it's cool because it feels so strikingly different than everything else. You know, it's just like, oh, I didn't expect them to do that. That's interesting. It's kind of how I felt. Okay.
I will say, after listening to you say all those words with no context,
I have no fucking clue
what
what the fuck we're talking about.
Questions.
That's fair. I do think you should play the game, Claire. Like, I do think it's a really compelling narrative, and I would love to discuss it. Like, this would be a great one to, like, grab a beverage or dinner and just, like, unpack what the heck you think about it.
Fair enough.
Okay, so we're on to Lorelei.
Yeah, no one else here has played Lorelei, so I think what I'm
Joseph
going to do...
has...
Joseph, did you... Yeah, but
I'm
going to talk about the ending
it?
here.
Oh, okay.
So here's what I'll do is I'm not going to talk in spoiler sense, but what I will say is that Lorelei does this cool thing where you gather context about the story that's layered on top as you go, and there's a final sequence. I'm going to spoil structural about Lorelei. Do you want the structural spoilers?
I mean, we haven't touched the game at all, so I think we won't have context, so it's probably fine.
You gather context as you go through the game, and there are puzzles that you essentially think about, and you're like, wait, I know what the answer to this is because you've gathered context as you go throughout the game, and then the final sequence leads up to like a cool story moment that actually surprised me at how effective it was, because the story is kind of given to you piece by piece as you go, and then it cashes the check in the end in a way that's cool.
Nice.
I'm trying to talk ambiguously here.
No, that's fair.
You did well.
Thank you.
Just based on what I know of the game, I imagine the ending is quite compelling as it continues to build. So I'm sorry I haven't played it so that I can be like, you are correct.
That's okay. It's
but I believe you.
Game.
I trust you.
We only have so many hundreds of hours for games here.
Very true.
A game we did get to, though, mouthwashing.
Yes, all of us. Except
Claire did not, but not her jam. So
okay. Can I just talk about the sunset real fast?
Please do.
So there's a scene, and it's actually not what is said to me, but it's just an incredibly beautiful moment between, and frankly, like I can't remember which characters offhand. I will get that while we're talking.
I think it's just Jimmy and Anya. No.
Yes, it was.
I think.
And so they're sitting in front of the screen, and there's a sunset, and it's just like the scene that's set is beautiful. It's a sunset on a screen that's lighting the whole room, lighting them, and despite having a like demade graphical style, it's so beautiful.
I also think the symbolism there is fun because then that sunset screen comes back later in the game and it's smashed and it's like kind of represents something in and of itself there. It's hard to pick one moment in mouthwashing because I think a lot of these are quite compelling in their own regard. Final puzzle, remind me because it's been a few months.
Spoilers for mouthwashing for anyone listening who has not played mouthwashing. The one where you feed meat to
oh god,
Curly,
of course, yeah,
and then turn the gears to make his insides digest it.
I jumped into Friends of the Show 6-1 Indies Extra Life stream when Kyle was playing that point, and I hadn't seen what part they were at, and in the chat I was just like, yeah, mouthwashing, and Kyle was like, what? That is a powerful moment, but I almost don't want to give an award just because I was so grossed out by it. But it was like, holy fuck, this is all like full circle in its own regard. It is a really good ending, though. Also,
yeah, it is a good ending.
Like talk about sticking the landing. It sticks the landing.
Yep. It reminded me so much of the ending of Soma, and I know that the themes are entirely different, but like both of those endings are very samey in what happens.
I love it.
Except,
So I guess we don't have to
Soma
pick...
isn't about sexual assault, though.
Soma is?
Soma is not.
I see.
Mouthwashing is.
So I guess since we're not picking, we'll all just pick our individual picks. So we're just essentially shouting these out, so then we can move on to Europa.
Yeah.
Yep.
Spoilers for Europa, if anyone wants to play Europa.
Yeah, I'm listening to this one.
It's fine. Yeah, I'd like to, but time.
You slowly realize that you're a robot boy. You're not a real boy. You're a robot boy. And that's not told to you at all until like near the end of the game, where you were like, hold on, this whole planet's robots. This person that speak to me, he's actually not my grandpa. He's my maker. And oh no, I'm a robot.
Isn't the flying and stuff that gave it away?
I was gonna say you're like soaring across the sky.
Yeah.
That is fair.
That sounds cool though. I like the look of that game a whole lot, and it seems
it's a
like
cool
good vibes.
little 3-hour game
Yeah.
that I would, if it's ever on sale for a couple bucks, like I would definitely recommend grabbing it.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Thank goodness you're here.
Oh man.
I'm muting. I haven't finished it.
Okay.
So just tell me to come back. I still have my headphones on though.
These are all real good.
The cow sequence is so fucking funny.
The chimney one gets me every time. The rats.
The cow sequence was my least favorite part of the game.
Talk to us about the
but
rats.
It really disturbed
It's
me.
definitely
Although
the grossest.
The pig one, when you're like in the
That one's
meat,
really gross,
is really
too.
gross.
Yeah.
The rats were my favorite. The scene where you go up into the
rat society,
the store, the bargain, whatever the heck,
Mhm.
and there's the whole rat society, and they've got the shrine with the cheese and the posters, and they have their own market full of the tools, and then after that the rats are suddenly everywhere and you can interact with them, and it's so funny. And I'm constantly quoting the one poster that they have up there. It says, "Stop the stigma, shit wherever."
It's
so good. It's so good. And you're like, ugh, I just absolutely loved the rats throughout the game. So good.
I mentioned the chimney one before, but just the way you keep going back to that man's apartment, and there's such a good payoff to that.
Mhm.
Did
He
you
becomes a broken man.
Did you get the moment where, because I stumbled in this by accident, because you didn't need to go back to the store where the walk-in freezer is. You didn't need to go back in there, but I happened to because I was confused and lost. And I got there, and in the background, the two characters are talking, and that man, his like sister or daughter or wife or whatever, is like, yeah, he's losing his mind.
I remember that. Yeah,
it's just
That's great.
Yeah, and he thinks this little man keeps coming out of the chimney and making a mess. So he's not got much time left, obviously. And it's just like, oh no, god.
Yeah, I love that a whole lot. Man, I think we're good for Hooper to come back. Threshold. This was a Jacob play, I believe.
Yeah, we've not talked about Threshold at all. Very quickly, it is a game where you have to keep a train running at high elevation in sort of a dystopian world where, in order to breathe, you like bite down on these glass containers. So you basically wreck your teeth every time that you need to breathe. Spoilers for Threshold. I will be very quick.
I'm muting again. I want to play this.
Spoilers for Threshold. You discover what is on the train. And what is on the train is human body parts. So when you get the train to stop, what ends up happening is in the end, and there are I think about 5 different endings in this game. 2 of the endings, you make the train stop, and it just starts raining literal blood and body parts. And at one point, in order to get the best ending, you need to climb up the body parts to get to one part of the screen that is like away to the top. And it almost feels like you shouldn't be able to do this, where you climb to the top of the map. It almost feels broken, but the best ending involves climbing to the top of the mouth so you're finally free, or the top of the like mountain so that you're finally free.
Damn.
It's
That
just
sounds
a
crazy. Yeah.
super striking
Probably.
visual of it raining blood in this like
Sure.
it's got a very Sphere of the Spotlight like PS1 vibe to it, and it's just that game I appreciated more with distance. It's one that you'll scratch your head at and go like, what the fuck did I just play? But it actually says a lot about like about capitalism, weirdly enough. And so I think it's cool.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
We are
Yes,
to
I'm back.
Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Is Queen's Blood in reference to like finishing it or a significant moment, or is it just
the game.
vibing out
Just
to Queen's
just
Blood?
vibes
Okay.
playing Queen's
Oh,
Blood.
wait, hold the heck on, Jacob. Are you kidding me about when you finish Queen's Blood? Like, it's epic. I mean, spoilers for Queen's Blood. Do you care, Luke?
No, I'm not.
I mean,
I'm-
spoilers for Queen's Blood. You play through the game, and then it turns out, oh, there's actually this like imprisoned queen from long ago that's actually like possessing people and like forcing them to play this game to like bring her back or whatever. And it becomes this Yu-Gi-Oh style Shadow Realm type thing where the little like Blasian girl or black girl or whatever that's like the queen of like the elite Queen's Blood player like is the
Yep.
final boss or something. She gets possessed or whatever.
Yeah, Regina
And
is
you
her
have this
name, I
like
think.
Regina, fantastic character, where she like it's like this Yu-Gi-Oh style showdown where it's like
Yep.
this is all for all the mark. I mean, it was insane. Like it's just a card game, and then all of a sudden you're like battling for the fate of the world type stuff. I loved it.
Doesn't the card almost like hit her like a bullet at one point?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This is very dramatic, and very amazing. Shout out.
Right on.
Yeah.
The parade sequence, we touched on it a little bit earlier, but I think this type of thing is Rebirth at its best. Big, goofy, fun, beautiful visuals, a fun gameplay tie-in. Had a smile on my face the whole time.
Yep.
Similar vibes of Little Kitty, Big Cities, Tanuki technology
Yes.
moment.
Just dumb.
Just hilarious. It's also really funny that then it introduces fast travel as a mechanic after that.
Yeah.
Remind me, do you get like a I don't remember the Tanuki stuff.
The
wild
find the Tanuki, and
Tanuki, he's like a
quantum
professor.
physicist
Yeah, you meet
who,
him in the
like,
sewer pipes,
has unlocked wormhole technology.
and so then you just
um,
find wormholes with all the sewer like
yeah,
grates,
hilarious.
or the lids.
and he
the
just,
sewer
and
streets.
just like the dialogue they wrote for that Tanuki is so funny.
It's really funny, yeah,
It's
and
like
it's like
very
and it's
Doctor Who, I feel
visually
like.
it does this like crazy like psychedelic color swirl thing. So like the first moment you do the teleporting, it's epic as all hell. And it just, I think it stands out because in context of the like very chill exploring the city, vibing out as a cat, it's just like crazy that you do this time travel thing.
I love that.
I Am Your Beast.
Yeah, no spoilers needed here.
Nice.
I forget the name of the artist, but the last level is just like everything you've learned, super long, super rad. You have to just like make your way through, and there's a track in the end, and it's called Tyrants Better Run, and it's like just a cool. It almost sounded like Run the Jewels, and it just plays and bumps as you like kill everything in sight. So it's just a rad thing.
Cool. Speaking of rad things, the ending of
Oh my
Astrobot
God.
will never not be cool.
Did
Claire
you cry,
just-
Luke? Did you cry?
Yes.
Yes.
Me too.
I
Beautiful.
cried at capitalism, everybody, but man, is it well done capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Claire, you just
I-
finished it like
an
within
hour
the
ago.
hour, so
Yeah.
you should
Oh,
speak to it
yeah.
because you're the freshest on it.
It was just so cool. I wasn't necessarily expecting it to like hit quite that hard, but it really did. Just like the little moments, and I love how Astrobot Astro's Playroom did this too, where it just like it draws on like, hey, remember this from earlier in the game? Like, and now it's all coming together.
And the way it brings back all the mechanics, like you were
all the
saying,
mechanics
it's so
in the end,
so fun.
really cool. I like was not expecting Horizon to be the final. Like,
Oh, you didn't have
world.
that spoiled for you? That's awesome.
No, I didn't have anything.
Hell
spoiled.
yeah.
Yeah, so that was really cool. I also just played there's a Christmas world
I
for
haven't played that
Christmas,
one yet.
and it's so charming and delightful.
That's awesome.
So that was fun too. But I loved playing through the credits also. That was really cool.
I hope they keep doing more DLC for that
Yeah.
one, because I'll
Mhm.
play that game until the end of time if they just keep giving me levels.
True.
Nice. Joseph, you want to close this out with 9 Souls?
Sure. I guess quick spoilers for this. The final bosses of Nine Souls start to all have like their all like own tragic backstories, and like the last few bosses in particular, very very interesting. One is Lady Eternal, and it's a very interesting boss where your game starts to glitch out, and you essentially like go into this idyllic matrix where everything seems so happy, and you meet this like soul who's like, oh, it's nice to see you. She doesn't quite remember things, and you slowly realize that she created this technology for all of these citizens to be put in like these sleeper pods where they have like their most idyllic dreams, because
what?
essentially there's like a disease running rampant outside, so you need to be like put in a pod, and like this is the way you can kind of still have a happy experience. But then as she was testing it, she learned that when you took people out of the pod, it was so good in the pod that they would like try and do anything to get back in, including like kill themselves or try and kill you, just because like they were so traumatized and wanted to get back to that experience. So she ended up being in the pod, and her pod was actually the opposite of what everybody else's was. It was her nightmare played over and over for eternity. So like you kind of have to beat her as a boss and free her from that nightmare. And her talking through that experience and like reflecting on what she created after, thinking she did something good. Very sad, but also like very like, oh man, this is a touching moment. And 2 other bosses. One was like this eternal living character that's like giving you hints about the future throughout the game, and then ultimately you figure out that they're a soul, and they read the future and are like, hey man, like my future is to kill you, unfortunately, and you can't change the future. You obviously beat them, and they were a good character this whole time, and they were just kind of tortured by the fact that they couldn't die and all their friends had died. Typical living eternal stuff. So you killing them was a very touching moment, even though it sounds pretty brutal. And I'll stop there, but like there's a lot of really cool bosses. And every time you beat a boss, you go into their memories and you see like their past and what led them to this moment. And then the last little frame you see is like what they picture was their ideal life or future. It's always so sad, but also very cool. Shout out to 9 Souls bosses.
That does sound really cool.
Yeah, it does.
All right, everybody. Do you want to do a little round robin, and we'll each give our shout out award for this category? Claire,
Yeah.
you want to kick us off?
So I'm giving mine to Astrobot.
Ooh.
Hell yeah.
Yay. What color should they just all be blue?
If
We
you
all
can
did
pick-
yellow last year.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
okay.
works. I was also going to do Astrobot, but just to spread the shout outs, I'm going to do the chimney cleaner sequence
Nice.
from Thank Goodness You're Here, because that
Hell
just
yeah.
brought a smile to my face this year. Jacob, what are you feeling?
I think I'm going to do mouthwashing ending.
Love
And maybe just change it to end sequence. Because there's just like so much that
whole,
happens.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that last like half hour kind
Yeah.
of is more or less
Stellar.
for sure.
Yeah.
Love it. Joseph?
Go to 9 Souls, the 9 Souls bosses.
Love it. Amazing. All right.
Hooray!
And that's our last category, everybody.
Wow.
Well
Now we get
done.
to see the video.
So now it's time. The top 10 games of 2024. So a little context for listeners. Everyone sent me their top 10 individual lists for the year. I did some calculations and put together our combined list. Your number 1 getting 10 points, all the way down to your number 10 getting 1 point, etc., etc. And we have a little reveal video. Highly recommend for video viewers, since it kind of gets compressed when I embed it in the podcast video. If you want to watch the breakout video, that's just this reveal video. I'll have that in the description as well, higher visual quality. But regardless, I'm going to get everything queued up here and I'll share my screen. And then we can get into some fun facts and whatnot and all that good stuff.
Crossplay Conversations Top 10 Games of 2024. Number 10. Little Kitty Big City. Number 9. In a 5-way
Oh,
tie.
God.
Prince of
Okay,
Persia.
okay.
We did it, everybody. We did it.
The Rise of the
Okay, okay.
No.
This music slaps.
Lorelei and the Laser Eyes.
Damn.
Pacific Drive.
Okay.
Woo.
No way.
Any shooting
This is all still number
Wow.
9 for the record.
This must have been like...
Number 8.
What?
Indiana Jones.
Oh wow, how high was this
It's
on
been
Luke's
very
list?
high on, yeah. It's been very high on Luke's list.
This was 3 or 4 on Luke's list.
That music slaps, though.
This might have even been 10 for him.
Number 7.
Let's go, baby.
Elden Ring. Shadow of the
Let's go.
You
Joseph
did it. You did it, Joseph.
Sometimes you just have to do it yourself, as Thanos said.
Number 6. Thank goodness you're
Gotta wait for that useless locksmith.
Lawrence?
Solid rod.
Oh, you're messing about with that thing, are you?
You can start by getting on that mower.
Number 5. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Number 4. Mouthwashing.
Wow.
Damn. Let's make mouth noises.
Number 3.
Yeah.
Animal Well.
Wait. Oh. I'm like, what's 2? And then I realized I know what 2 is. This is surprising.
This isn't.
Let's see.
I knew what
Is
the
number
top three
2
was gonna be.
Astrobot, or is number 2 Balatro?
One or the other.
Number 2.
Yeah.
Oh,
makes sense.
there
That
it
one's
is.
What? This is crazy.
Did you think this was gonna be number 1?
Yes.
Was this your number 1?
Yes.
Oh.
Number 1. And the Crossplay Conversations 2024 Game of the Year is Astrobot.
Aww.
So cute.
Shout out to the homies.
Shout out to Katie.
For real though, shout out to Katie Lesperance for laying down the voiceover for that one. She did a great job. It was really fun.
Yay.
Wow.
Astrobot did it.
So who else had Little Kitty Big City on their list? Was it
It's been
just
Luke,
me?
right?
Just you.
Just me, and it was just
Oh.
right enough. Oh, okay.
So I will share.
You're gonna share all of our lists.
So high level takeaways. How we feeling
What a
about
good
that? Then I'll
video,
reveal some
yay!
fun
Oh,
facts.
good.
Great,
Good.
excellent video. Shocked. Genuinely shocked.
I love
Did
that.
you think Belcher was gonna win?
I'm not
Yes,
that shocked.
I
I'm
did.
not shocked at all. Not shocked
I
at
bet
all.
it's like 2 points then.
Was it really
Probably,
close?
Yep.
Let me
I see
reveal
Luke nodding.
some stats. So Balatro had 35 points. Astrobot had 37.
Wow.
It was really fucking
Wow,
close.
there's a big gap between Belcher and Amawell, though.
So running down our top 10 in terms of points, I'll start from the bottom up. Little Kitty Big City came in with 6 points. That was just on Claire's list. Prince of Persia came in at 7 points. That was on Joseph and I's top 10. Rise of the Golden Idol had 7 points as well. That was on Jacob and Joseph's list. Lorelei and the Laser Eyes had 7 points as well. Jacob and Joseph. Pacific Drive had 7 points just on Claire's list.
Wow.
Mini Shoot Adventure had 7 points just on my list.
That number
That's
4 then
crazy.
for you?
Yes.
That's crazy.
Indiana Jones and the Great Circle with 8 points just on my list. That was my number 3. Elden Ring with 10 points. That was Joseph's number 1. And it was the
We
only.
did it.
You were the only. The Thanos did. You got to do it yourself.
We did it.
Really came true. Thank goodness you're here. Came in with 11 points. Claire, Jacob, and I had that on our lists. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth came in with 12 points at number 5. That was Jacob and Joseph.
Where'd you put it, Joseph, then? You put it at 6?
I
Or
think
7?
you
Probably,
both
yeah.
put it at 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah, I put it
both
at
had it at
5.
5.
Okay.
Mouthwashing came in at number 4 with 14 points. I think Jacob, Joseph, and I had that on our lists in various spots. Jacob, it was your number 3. It was my number 6, and it was Joseph's number 10. Then we had Animal Well coming in with 20 points. That was my number 8. That was Joseph's number 2. And that was Claire's number 3.
Oh, wow.
So
Dang,
my
we still
top
couldn't
3
get it done, huh?
is the top 3 in order.
In order, yeah.
Wow.
That's funny.
And I think I'm trying to see who got the most games on the list. I think it might be Jacob. No, because I also got.
I only had 6 on the list.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I got 8 on the list.
I have 8 on the list as well.
5.
You didn't put 1000
X
X Resist on your list, did you?
It's my 10.
It's your 10. Okay.
Yeah,
it's
so
not
it didn't bump it enough. So
Why
then,
don't? Can you read?
yeah, I'll read the stuff
Down.
that didn't make the list. So Another Crab's Treasure almost made it with 5 points. Botany Manor and Arco and Crow Country had 4 points. And then Paper Trail, 1000X Resist, and Children of the Sun all had 3 points. Helldivers 2 had 2 points. Neva had 2 points. Tiny Glade had 1 point. And I Am Your Beast had 1 point. So those are the almosts made it. But yeah, the shocking thing to me, honestly, was the 9th place 5-way tie. Otherwise, I thought everything was pretty even keel. I thought about cutting it off at a certain point, but since they all got the exact same number of points, it was like, how do you equate that? I had for a while, I was like, oh, well, what if it was on more people's lists? But then for the most part, with the exception of Pacific Drive and Mini Shoot, all the rest of the games, it had at least 2 people. So it was like kind of hard to suss out. But Yeah, that's the list.
Wild.
I'm shocked because I know we were talking so highly about Balatro, and it was like our clear best indie of the year. So that's why I was like, oh, it's Balatro, no question.
I think when we did our Astrobot review, Joseph was like, "This is winning our GOTY," and he was like,
Yeah.
"Everything's competing for number 2 at this point."
It's just too unanimous. I guess
I
Balatro
think
is as well, but
I think if we had all put it at number 2, like if we had done what you did, Jacob, and put Balatro at number 1, it would have given it that bump.
Mm-hmm.
But since Claire and I had it at number 2,
I had
and
it
Joseph
at
had 4.
I had an agenda, all right.
You had an agenda.
I was like, my agenda was, first of all, Elden Ring needs to be on the list. We got to get that
think
one
your
on there.
GOTY last year with Baldur's Gate was our number 10 or number 9,
Yeah.
if I recall. Like it was pretty down there.
It's
So you
been-
got this up to number 7.
Yeah,
as a
each
solo.
year I'm like, all right, the best game of the year. Only one person has played
You had
it.
support with Animal Well, though. We were trying
I
to
did.
get you.
I was like, for a second, I was like, all right, Animal Well's not here yet. Maybe we got it to at least the number 2 slot. We'll see.
Is this your
Number
payback
3,
for us
not mad about
putting
it.
Elden Ring at number 2 the year it came out?
I forgot about that. No,
Yeah.
I was just like, it's so good. I mean, it truly is my game of the year.
What did we
I mean,
put at
haven't
number
talked
1,
about
though?
it, but
God of War?
God of War
Was that-
Ragnarok, which
yeah.
in hindsight I think is a mistake.
I mean, that is a mistake. I mean, how much?
Joseph,
I'll
I'll check the tape, but you definitely agreed with that at the time.
Well,
Just saying.
I don't anymore.
I don't
anymore.
I don't necessarily anymore either. But Sifu was too low on that list, also unrelated, but you know.
Hey, I
Yeah,
played
Sifu was number
now.
10 on that
I
list.
would've
And
fought
also
for that.
Citizen Sleeper was also too low on that list in 2022.
Yeah, we made mistakes.
But where
back
will
in
Citizen
2022.
Sleeper 2 fall in 2025? Only time will tell.
Only time will tell.
Any shout outs, any of these games that we haven't touched on? I realized I didn't talk about Prince of Persia in this one, but that
Yeah.
probably should have been an underrated game, but I love that game. It's, I think, my favorite Metroidvania I've ever played. The map design is chef's kiss. And I think it's the most accessible Metroidvania in that regard, and just the least like unpleasant moments. It's just like straight to the goods in terms of moment to moment enjoyment factor.
Absolutely. One notable thing is that if we would have had the cutoff today for Game of the Year, Nine Souls might be at number 4 at this point. So Nine Souls would have made our list if I would have turned it in probably like a week later. So fun fact there. And then I haven't gotten a chance to really talk about Shadow of the Erd Tree much,
Yeah.
but I
Love it.
mean, that being like basically a complete new experience, like I was very surprised at the amount of depth the DLC went into. The fact that you can actually follow the story in this one without a freaking Vati video was fantastic. And once again, this was the one game of the year, maybe not the only one, but like this was the main game of the year where I'm playing it and you beat certain bosses, you beat Mesmer, you beat the final boss, and you just feel a wave of like, holy crap, I can freaking do anything. I'm the man. I am him. And, you know, don't get that feeling very often. So
Love that for you. That's awesome.
thank you.
We didn't talk
We
about
talked-
Helldiver. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jacob.
Oh yeah, I was surprised. One, Helldivers 2. Luke, you and I jumped in with front of the show. Adam Gumbert.
it's
to
so
play.
good.
It's so good.
In fairness, we originally had a best multiplayer category, but we looked at it before we started recording, and the only nominations we had were Helldivers and Black Ops. So we were just like, well, we love Helldivers. Done.
maybe next year.
It's such a
but-
good game, though. It's so fun.
Yeah, it's
Big dumb fun at its finest. Great multiplayer. It feels great. It looks great. That was one that hindsight could have probably thrown into best visuals technical, just because I think the scale of the monsters and the world
Yep.
design is really good. Yeah, blast. Still gonna keep going back to it. Love it.
I was gonna say that I was surprised that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was as high as it was at number 5. Only because, and look, I talked a lot of shit about the story in it. I think as a playing game, the combat system is phenomenal. And then
Yeah.
obviously the music.
Oh
too.
hell yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fun stuff in that game.
Yeah. A lot of crap though.
A lot of crap. Luckily, there's 100 hours of gameplay, so
Yeah.
I didn't talk a ton about Indiana Jones outside of the music and some base level story stuff, but I adore that game. I thought I was gonna like it, but I loved it. It's such a weird, campy game. The stealth system's wild. You're punching Nazis, you're eating biscotti, you're hitting people with shovels.
Ooh.
It's just the most wild sim elements. I had so much fun with it, solving puzzles. There's just little attentions to detail that people don't even pick up on because the game doesn't overtly like explain things to you, but like you can go buy a lighter in the game and then you can use that lighter to burn down Nazi propaganda and get adventure points that you then upgrade your abilities. Like just weird shit that like this game is wild and it's interesting and it's a great Indiana Jones story. Troy Baker absolutely crushed it. It's fun to play. I enjoy the puzzle solving. Visually looks great. Stellar. I love that it exists so much.
And I'm so happy that it came out and was really great for you, Luke.
No one thought it was going to be this good, even me.
Nope.
And it's really stellar.
I at least knew it was going to come out. I at least knew that much.
I knew it was going to come out, but I kind of expected like a solid 7, a straightforward like Uncharted style Indiana Jones game, but this is like way more Dishonored, way more. It's Dishonored light in terms of complexity, but it's just so silly and wacky, and it feels like Indiana Jones. Like it has that DNA, and I think it'll go down as like licensed game Hall of Fame, right up there with the Arkham Asylums and
oh wow,
the Spider-Mans of the world for the respective property. Different style of game, but like if you love like an immersive sim, if you love Indiana Jones, if you love action adventure, if you love cool tomb puzzles and lighting torches, there's a great torch mechanic in the game where you're using lighting to solve like it's great. It's really good.
Man, the important thing is here, I owe you an artisanal soda because of the release date of that, right?
I do.
Yeah.
You didn't believe.
Artisanal soda. I love
Yes.
Believe. I believed, and it paid off.
Yeah, it sure did. That game came out, and you are right, my friend. If you were drinking beer, I'd give you a beer, but artisanal soda it is.
Listeners, I'm expecting a lot of hate for 1000X Resist not making the combined top 10. It was on my personal list. It was on Jacob's list. We enjoyed the game.
Everybody.
Sorry, everybody.
Wasn't on my list. So
I put other games higher that made me really happy. So
That is fair.
I chose happiness in 2024.
And we'll continue to do
Underneath
that
the
as we do
list.
these. Luke, thank you for putting that
Underneath
together,
the
and thank
list.
you for
Oh, yeah.
doing it again this year.
Honestly, we were joking about it. Thank you. I appreciate it. We were joking about it before we started recording because I said I was tired because I was working on that video and putting stuff together this week, but it's so fun. I enjoy doing it every year, and I do it not because I feel like I have to, but just because it's just a blast to put together. And it was my first time dealing with like gameplay B-roll or trailer footage, so this was a fun little challenge project for me, so it was cool.
good time.
All right, everybody. I think that brings us to a close. Claire, thank you so much for joining. As
Thank you
always,
for
it's always a
having me.
blast to have you.
Super fun.
Good vibes out there. Where can people
new.
keep up with you and what you're doing out there?
I am on Bluesky,
Hell yeah.
and that is it.
Amazing.
So, I
believe
think that I
you're
am
at Claire Bear
Dot
Rose.
Helmberger. Oh yes, that's right. I changed
Yeah, you
it.
swapped it from your.
I am not very good at keeping my
That's
thing
okay.
the same.
We'll link it in the
across
description if you want to give
platforms.
Claire a follow on socials.
I am looking. Yeah, Claire Bear Rose. All
Love
one
it.
word, no caps.
Amazing. Otherwise, you can check out our upcoming episode of Lukewarm Games because we're back from our big winter break. We're talking about Switch 2 stuff and doing some most anticipated
Whoa.
games of the year talk. So that'll be a fun one. Boys, anything to plug? Other content? Any fun
We've
stuff
got a
happening?
cool episode coming out for a game that we can't talk about, but that's going to be our next episode, so stay tuned for that.
It'll be a cool indie review that you probably care about. I'll say that. Amazing.
Go check out Player Pie Game of the Year.
Do it.
I think our list will be slightly different than the one here.
Okay.
I don't know
Okay.
actually, but we'll see. Go enjoy that.
Awesome. All right, y'all. We're setting our status to away, but until next time, I'm going to ask you to do 3 things for us. Give us a follow at Crossplay Convos. send this podcast to a friend, because that's how people hear about podcasts, and give us a review on your podcast platform of choice. It really, truly does help. And until then, go play some 2025 games. Bye.